So we are here again today. Let's wait for 1 minute so that all can join. No one watching us till now, so we should wait for one more minute. Meanwhile, I would like to say the remaining schedule of this seminar. Today, we are going to witness or hear or watch three lectures, which will be given by three different resource persons. So many are good morning all. Good morning, Sangram sir, Raj Kaur, Dibyendu Sinigrahi, Gaurappan sir. Okay, so we can start. A very good morning to all of you, and welcome back on the second day of national webinar on emerging yogic practices and fitness trends during the pandemic COVID-19. Today, we will witness three presentations given by three different resource persons, and I hope we all will learn something from these lectures. And these lectures will be delivered simultaneously, one after another. So stay tuned with us. Okay, so without any delay, please welcome the person who is known for his perfection and presentation. He is none other than Dr. Mahesh Singh Dhapola, who is presently working as an assistant professor in Department of Physical Education in Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya, Bilaspur. He is the author of numerous research papers and books of national and international levels. He is the great promoter of sports. He even played Visi Trophy twice consecutively. So you can imagine how he is determined and he is disciplined. He has lots of qualities. Apart from being a good teacher, he is a great motivator, great scholar, mentor, administrator, and more than that, he is a great manager. So we hope that we will learn many things from his lecture. And without delaying, I would like to welcome our first speaker of today, Dr. Mahesh Singh Dhapola. So please, sir.
Good morning, Ankan sir. Thank you so much for your kind words and our appreciating words. A very warm good morning to the organizers and the viewers of this webinar. I would like to thank the president of this webinar, Dr. Dilip Sarkar sir, Principal, Government Degree College, Dharmanagar, Tirupur, Dr. Ankan Sinha, Organizing Secretary, Mr. Prasanjit Devnath, Joint Organizing Secretary of this webinar. Uncle sir, shall I share my PPT with this?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. You can share.
It is visible to all? Uncle
Yes,
sir,
sir.
it
Yes,
is
sir.
visible?
It's visible, and you can go
Yeah.
for slideshow. Yes, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfectly okay.
Right. Okay. Dear all, now without wasting much of time, I would like to start my session and request the students to keep pen or paper with them so that they can note down the valuable data that I'm going to provide in this session. See, let's get started. The today's lineup of this session is, first I will tell you about the COVID-19 and its impact on sports and sports economy. Next, I will deliver impact of COVID-19 on fitness. then ideas for physical activity, and what will happen, what are the results of lacking in access to physical activity, and at the last I will discuss on the best fitness apps. So without wasting time, I'm starting my presentation. So this is the lineup. Today, on 12th March 2020, the day the sports world has stopped, the coronavirus and the pandemic continues to spread around the globe. Individuals were are making significant changes to the way they interact with content and advertising across the platform. Consumers having had to change their lifestyle significantly as social distancing, working, and see closed schools and cancelled their sporting events, travel journey, and all. The effect of COVID-19 con- continue to ripple through the world's health, the educational sectors, the financial sectors, the commercial institutions, and the sports ecosystem. The non-stop sports entertainment we have come to expect has come to a halt. See, you see, the global pandemic COVID-19 are shockingly grounded every aspect of socio-economic life of human race we hold. The impact of COVID-19 on the world can be clearly illustrated by its overwhelming impact. I am just focusing on the word overwhelming impact on major sports events around the world. There are so many tournaments, so many leagues like UEFA Champions League, Euro League were postponed, Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games postponed to the next year, but the life must go on. So, on the outset of this pandemic COVID-19, where the games and sports are cancelled, either cancelled or postponed, in the previous crisis, the sports industry has always been considered a crisis proof. It is never really been affected on the other type of war. But now the sports industry is facing major challenges in every way. If you see the athletes, the broadcasters, the franchises, they all have been falling victim to the virus one by one. This is huge, but first of all, because of this has never happened before, so it's a process that the teams, the government, the agents, the everybody in trying to learn and to adapt to the situation. There are not many rules that people can follow. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Now you can see the picture that is combination. It's a combination of two photographs. On my right side, you can see a photo of 3rd March 2019 of Tokyo Marathon, and after 1 year, that is March 2020, you can see on the right left hand side, you can see the huge runners, the big crowd, the spectators, favorable spectators, how the runners fill the street at the time of the start of the event. You can see here in this image the impact of COVID-19 on sports. Now, the stadiums are without their fans, the players are playing games without their fans, but the show is must on. And if you see, we are talking about the 160 billion dollars industry worldwide, and there is been incalculable financial hit, and there has been a incalculable financial hit due to the COVID-19 across the world, and to the various degrees. Sports events have been cancelled or postponed. Spectators have no games now. Spectators have no game now, and see, no games to watch, no players, no games to play. Only a few countries like Nicaragua, Belarus have continued professional sporting matches as planned. The players are following the advisories given by the concerned sports organizations or the federations. If if there is a, if there were no games, there are no ticket sales, there are no broadcasters, no sponsorship deals. What is it's mean? It's mean no money at all. If you go through the Europe's best leagues like the Indian Premier League, the La Liga League of Spain, Football Bundesliga of Germany, Italy's Serie League, or League of France, or Premier League of Portugal, you will find that the impact has played a very important role or a very important key also on that these events. See, it is estimated that the Europe's biggest five leagues are expected to lose around 5 billion euros in the end of the season, and also their stock value are decreasing too. In the history, in the history of 122 years of Juventus, which is originated in which is formed in 1897. First time in the history, after 122 years, Juventus lost 60% of its stock value. Juventus is a stadium which is known for its sponsorship reasons. It's an Alliance Stadium since July 2017. In major sports countries, the major clubs lost around 40 to 60% of their stock value. The major in major countries, the major sports clubs around lost 40 to 60%, and see the major clubs negotiating to reduce their multi-million million cash crunch. Not only this, the wages at the top of these five European leagues from England, Italy, Spain, Germany, France, and total 9 billion euros, which is about 62 billion of all club revenues. See, the FC Barcelona decided to give 70% of their salaries, uh, including the superstar Lionel Messi. Also, the Cristiano Ronaldo, who is on track to become the first footballer to earn $1 billion, is giving up an essential part of his income. See the split of sportsmanship and the split of this great game, king of football game, which is known as king of all the games, is towards the treatment of these COVID patients. If you see, if you see the Barcelona's, I'm talking about here the Barcelona's board of directors. They have meeting with the most of the basketball teams and the other associations. They have reached an agreement for a reduction in their salaries during the period of state of alarm due COVID-19. In the case of football, this is the first team that reduced the over 70% of their originally agreed with the club. This is additional contribution by the team together with the contributing that the club itself to make 100% salary to their non-supporting staff at the club, which will be a great initiative by the footballers or the football clubs in the world, which will be submitted by the temporary presidency of this week. And the club also will, expresses the best gratitude to all the professional athletes of their for these implications. If you see the impact of COVID-19 on the Borussia Dortmund of Germany, that reserved with a double-digit million worth of their salaries and has reserved its stadium to treat or to for the treatment of the COVID-19 patients. The Premier League is in talks to push players of 30% wage cut. The Premier League club enjoyed a record of 5.2 billion pounds, that is around 6.65 billion dollars of revenue in the year 2018-19. See, in 2018-19, total 5.2 billion pounds according to the Deloitte. Deloitte, which you all know, Deloitte is the brand which is under which tens of thousands of dedicated professionals in independent firms throughout the world collaborate. They can work, they can deal or provide audit and assurance and consulting risk and financial advisories, risk managements and tax and related services to the selected clients. So also, apart from this, FIFA also announced plans to extend players' contracts until the end of this delayed domestic season and change the dates of their transfer season. If you see the major sporting events, see IPL also, the BCCI, also the tournament broadcasters, the franchisees, at least 3,000 crore rupees. It is tentatively they in it may be law maybe lose, and about the cricket Australia stands to lose around 174 billion. I will talk later on this cricket Australia about their sporting staffs. Uh, see, and there is more. If we see the most anticipated flagship events of this year, like Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games, Euro 2020 Cup, Copa America Cup have been postponed until the next year. The report anticipates that the Premier League to lose around £1 billion in revenue this season. The European football market as a whole generated a record of 28.9 billion euros, which is about $32.99 billion in the year 2018-19 campaign. With the big five leagues, if we say the big five leagues of Europe, that is from England, Spain, Germany, France, Italy, contributing around 17 billion euros. What it means? It means 9% increase from the previous year. But what will God knows what about the 2020, 2021? See, the impact of this sports economy, the most around this Wimbledon was cancelled. We all know for the first time since the Second World War, while the formula for motor racing series is also on verge of total cancellation. There are big, there are big setbacks for the broadcasters as well as the leagues. The biggest financial change, you can see the biggest financial change or danger for the NBA, for example, is lost revenue from its television contracts. The NBA makes almost half of its $9 billion revenue from the media fees, and it is expected to lose around $450 million from the gate revenue, which is main important part. So, but at the same time, companies who want the broadcasting rights lose hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising revenues. And see, the around 1.3 million sports jobs are at risk, which includes the coaches, scouts, and see, these are the picture with the images I want to show you all. I want to show you all the groundsmen, the lifeguards, the technical men, the clock room readers, the locker room attendants. See, all are affected. Their jobs are at on risk. The Olympic Games was suspended to the most heavily sponsored sports event ever, and now Japan faces an estimate of $6 billion in losses due to the delay of these all Olympic Games. They are hoping the game won't be completely cancelled next year, because that would mean the pandemic would still not be under control, a human and an economic catastrophe, that is a disaster or tragedy. And most worldwide, the impact could be last longer. There is no doubt. I think there is no doubt the challenges and the sports industry is facing are going to be longer term. Seeing a player back on the stage or the back on the field and the fans at their seats until be one of the signs that the things are getting back to normal. That is new normal. What do we say all nowadays? New normal life. We go with this. But now nobody knows. Nobody has any idea when that could happen. If we see the NBA Commissioner Adam Silver, he said our revenue in essence has dropped to zero. See how the NBA is facing this crisis, or the impact of COVID-19 has played an important role impact on this NBA tournament. Now I'm showing you some newspaper cuttings. These newspaper cuttings will tell us what is the impact of sports, impact of COVID-19 on sports. The World War II did not shut down the sports, but COVID did that. You can see the फुटबॉल लीग सबसे पहले शुरू, क्योंकि उसका टर्नओवर स्पेन की जीडीपी का 1.37% था. इससे 1,85,000 नौकरियां पैदा होती थी. अगर आप देखें इस वर्चुअल दुनिया में बाहर निकल कर आप देखें तो धीरे धीरे हम लौट रहे हैं. यूरो की टॉप 5 जो फुटबॉल लीग्स हैं वो 3 महीने का वापस कर रही है, अपने प्रैक्टिस सेशन चला रही है, एडवाइजरीज फॉलो कर रही है, सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग के रूल्स फॉलो कर रहे हैं. If you talk about the football industry of Spain, around 35,000 crore इनको जो टैक्स मिलता था वो इससे मिलता था, ताकि जो अन्य जो दूसरे खेल है वो भी वापस आ रहे हैं. In the likewise the same other sports also. See the next you can see is in a newspaper of Dainik Bhaskar Bilaspur on 18th June 2020 is the cutting sports cutting where the टूर्नामेंट हैज प्लेड एंड ब्रायन लगातार 8वीं बार जर्मन लीग चैंपियन बनी. लेकिन जो इसका जो ड्रॉबैक जो हम लोग सब लोग फील करते हैं एज अ प्लेयर, एज अ कोच और एज अ स्टूडेंट, हम चाहते हैं कि हम इसके फैंस चाहते हैं कि हम उनका मैच देखें, और लाइव मैच देखें, क्योंकि जर्मनी में ये स्पोर्ट्स हुए थे, तो इस इवेंट शुरू हो चुके हैं, लेकिन फैंस की कमी इनको है. दे आर प्लेइंग विदाउट देयर फैंस. If we see what I am talking about the cricket Australia, क्रिकेट ऑस्ट्रेलिया ने 40 और स्टाफ मेंबर्स को हटाया. पहले वो ऑलरेडी 200 स्टाफ मेंबर्स की छटनी कर चुके हैं, और जो उनकी जो बजट का जो 200 करोड़ की कटौती करे हैं, इसके कारण क्या हुआ, उन्होंने जो अंडर 15 एंड अंडर 17 और ऑस्ट्रेलिया ए के विदेशी दौरों को अगले साल तक के लिए रोक दिया है. दे आर जस्ट कटिंग डाउन द बजट, स्पोर्ट्स बजट. They are cutting down their sports budget. Then you can also see the major baseball league, MLB. Top 10 टीम पे 10,000 करोड़ का नुकसान की आशंका है. This is a tentative one. And see also the ticket collections, around 38,000 करोड़ का इनको नुकसान होने की आशंका है. Now, according to analysis of Patrick Riche, डायरेक्टर स्पोर्ट्स बिजनेस प्रोग्राम वॉशिंगटन यूनिवर्सिटी सेंट लुइस के जो थे, इनके अनुसार इन्होंने he has conducted an analysis for ESPN. He has estimates the shutdown for the professionals for the professional colleges and youth sports will cost at least $12 billion. That is, if we combine all these, the pro sports, that is $5.5 billion, for youth sports around $2.4 billion, and for college sports it is around $3.9 billion. Total, if we add all these, so there is a total $12 billion they are at the that stage. Now, if we talk about the tennis, in this $12 billion loss, sports losses, they have not included football. In the same way, if you go through the go for the tennis, it is approximately $20 billion. If you can go to the golf, it is around $18 billion. Now, these are the events which are either cancelled or postponed. And see, this is a list. This is a list of various sporting events. You can go through these links. You will find a separate list according to the game wise, according to the cancelled events, according to the postponed events. Now, the most important thing, the impact of COVID-19 on sporting events, what we have already discussed. This in nutshell, we have covered the most of the sporting events at international, regional or national levels. They are either cancelled or postponed. The Olympic or the Paralympic Games are postponed to the next year. And the global values of sports industry is estimated around 756 billion annually. The COVID phase of many millions of jobs are there at risk. The sport professional and sports sponsors, the retail services, the travel and tourism departments, the infrastructure, transportation, the infrastructures, catering, media, broadcasting, they are all in the state of losses. In addition to economic repercussions, the cancellation of these games also impacts many social benefits of global and regional sports events, which can cement social cohesion, contribute to the social and emotional excitement of fans, as well as their identification with athletes, leading to a greater physical activity of individuals. If we see here, the sports is used as a tool for creating learning opportunities and assessing often marginal and or at the risk of populations. So, at this pandemic COVID-19, all the sports federations, all players, all the teams, they have come closer and they come together to fight against this pandemic disease. Organizations have come together to support one another in solidarity. Periodic online community discussions are going on. Participants are participating in online dialogues, online quiz competitions, and streaming the practice sessions. So, this is all about the impact of COVID-19 on economy, sports economy. See, the FIFA has also lined up or collaborate with WHO, and here they has launched a campaign or message, that is pass the message to kick out the coronavirus. This is the main theme of this campaign, which is done by the 28 countries or in 13 languages. They are mainly focusing on five major points or key steps. These key steps are hand washing, cupping etiquettes, not touching one's face, physical distance, staying home if feeling unwell. See, on March 23rd, the FIFA has started its work on from back to 19 November, December, and on 23rd March 2020, FIFA, the international governing body of football, and the World Health Organization, they have teamed up to combat the coronavirus by launching a new awareness program led by the world-renowned footballers. 28 footballers who are calling on all people around the world to follow these 5 steps. FIFA and its president Gianno Infantino uh, have been actively involved in passing the message against the pandemic since the very beginning, as said by the WHO director, Dr. Tedros. And we have to follow, like the Alison Baker, Miroslav Klose, Lionel Messi. 28 players are involved in this video campaign, and I will show this video at the last part of this session to save the time. Now, the sports education sector, after the closure of these education institutions around the world due to the COVID-19, has also impacted on the different parts of the sports education sectors. We see the closure of education institutions around the world due to COVID-19 on education sectors, stakeholders including the national ministries, local authorities, public and private education institutions. While this community has been severely impacted by the current crisis, it can also be a key contributor to solutions to contain and overcome it, as well as implementing rights and values to a time of social distancing. See, what nowadays, after the closure of the gyms, the stadiums, the pools, and the dance and the fitness studios, physiotherapy centers, the lack of physical activity, the people are engaging more in the TV hours, or they are spending their leisure time with the more hours in watching TVs and movies, and irregular sleep patterns, as well as worse diets, resulting in weight gain and loss of physical fitness. Many individuals are thereof not able to actively participate. So I will discuss how to participate, what are the ideas of participating, or what are the ideas for better physical activities during this pandemic time. So according in this pandemic time, according to me, or I can advise or suggest you students, please go through these points, that what can an athlete do during this pandemic time. Number one, that is, during this time, be resilient. This resilience is the key, as how athletes adapt now will impact on how they perform in the future. In particular, resilience related to how their competitors are reaching and coping. So be resilient, adjust your goals. Athletes, mostly the athletes needs to view their period of opportunity to keep improving, and see, while their goals can won't change, the timeline for these goals will need to adjust. So adjust your goals according to the situation. And now, and you have to use your time wisely. The additional time should be used as an opportunity to work on the things that you have neglected during the past years, so not been able to work on previously. For example, understanding the nutrition, you can focus on your nutrition guides. You can try out the new nutritional strategies. Working on your mental skills, you can work on your mental skills, mental preparations, and analyze yourself self. Okay, then the other things what I feel, that is, you have to protect yourself from the burnout conditions, because this there is no game, no practice sessions in many of the cities or many of the countries. So what you have to do, this period is staying at home offers athletes a chance to rest more and more, get over those injuries that have been niggling away, practice relaxation techniques, and build up energy supplies. So the mental and physical rest will be helpful for you, and hope the other resource persons will on psychology or on yoga, they will tell you how to do the mental practices, how do you do mentally tough during this pandemic time. And the one another one important point regarding the what athletes may do during this COVID time, focus on the other things. Athletes can be notorious for being sacked, second to their sports at the expense of everything else. Sports can breed ovation and perfectionism, and how they can be time on focus of their other pursuits. So just chill out, develop new hobbies, finding new hobbies, and do whatever you want, but stay in home. Also, Regarding this COVID-19, WHO also recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercises, either 150 minutes of moderate intensity exercises or 75 minutes vigorous intensity physical activity per week. And there are the benefits of this. What are these benefits? You may be away from the anxiety or crisis and fear, and there you will have a better physical health. You may develop your immune system, better immune system to fight against the virus. So these comment are the advantages, benefits. And if you see, if you are in home during this coronavirus time, it's still important to stay active. So students, the small children are advised to work 1 hour per day. WHO recommends healthy adults may involve 30 minutes per day in physical activities, and there are different ideas for physical activity during the self isolation. You may involve in dancing, whatever you want to do. You can play with your children, you can play with your brother and sister, you can clean your house, clean your surroundings. You may involve in gardening, you may permit to go for a short walk and be active during this time. There are so many online classes you can participate. You may dance according to your choice. Online exercises classes are there. So other activities to be performed like slow jogging, rope skipping in home, in your terrace, in your small room, you can do that. You can perform aerobic exercise, aerobics, dance with your favorite music, um, bouncing the wall against the wall. You can do yoga and pranayama. And during this COVID-19, you may spend a good quality time with your family members. Your family members. You may do some creative works like painting, making different rangoli, clay modeling, the small kids. You can write poem. You can decorate your home. You may involve in cooking with your mother, your father, your brother and sister. You play the music instruments, and you can do the your in indoor. You play Ludo. From the last 2 or 3 months, I'm playing Ludo with my child. And the importance of involvement of in these physical activities and exercises during COVID-19 pandemic can follow these key points. So there are few things. First, you have to know the benefits. You all know the benefits of physical activity and exercise. We are meant to move and move. Our body systems work better. We are consistently physically active. Consider engaging in physical activity once or twice daily. Physical activity and exercises can be effective treatment of strategy, and for children and adolescents, moderate to vigorous physical activity is recommended. And exercise during the day are associated with elevations of self-esteem, improved concentration, reduction in depressive symptoms, and improvement in sleep. If you see, the each day is a new opportunity for you all to engage in physical activity and in exercise that can be bring short and long term benefits for mood, sleep, and physical health. If you see, the consistency and sustained motivation may be enhanced by your peer support or by your family members. You have to support your family members too. For older adult people in your home, your mother, father, your grandfather, grandmother, uh, and among the individuals managing chronic medical conditions, regular walks are recommended. The benefits of strength training and the weight lifting, low weight with high number of repetitions may be recommended. Please consider one thing: using physical activity and exercises uh, as a strategy to maintain the health during this stressful period of COVID-19. And what will happen? What are the results if you will not involve yourself in the physical activities? The lack of access to these physical activities leads to you some mental health problems. You maybe have more stress, more, and your anxiety level will be increased, and you may face a phase of self isolation. So this from this state of self isolation or stress and anxiety for the mental health, you have to go through some important points. because the stress, the brain and mental health can, the brain and your mental health can help you to fight against this stress and anxiety, because our brains and our immune systems are deeply linked to each other. The immune system is primarily mediator of environmental agents like the microbes, chemicals of the infamous COVID-19. And see, the stress is normal. The stress is normal and can be healthy. But too much sustained stress is not good. High and unregulated level of stress have a number of negative consequences on the brain, immunity, and vascular system, leading to blood sugar imbalances and the other problems you may face. So, the physical exercises is an essential component of improving both physical and mental health. So, please involve yourself in physical activities. Do be disciplined towards these physical exercises, and physical exercise is an essential component. Regular exercise has been linked to changes in your brain connectivity, and the mindfulness and relaxation techniques can improve mood and sleep quality. Investing your mental health pays long-lasting dividends. So these are the things. And now I'm going to the last part of my presentation, that is the fitness apps. You can see here in this image, there are different images on this slide, and see, these are the pictures. If you go through these, these are the best fitness apps. These Android apps or iOS apps like the MyFitnessPal, Nike Room Club, Google Fit, Sonastic, Runkeeper. What are the advantages? See, these fitness apps meet a range of needs. Some are great for people who are already athletic, while others are perfect for beginners. Some have one area of focus, such as nutrition or music for workout, while the others take all-in-one approach. This is what that is my one all-in-one approach. Some are simple, but others go the extra mile to make you have all the information you need to keep working towards your health and fitness goals. In some may have the money is associated for you for the pro versions. If you see, according to me, the best short workout apps, that is Johnson and Johnson's official 7-minute workout plan, is far the best we have found. It is totally free app with a classic 7-minute workout that you can do anywhere. The app shows you how to do each move and count down from 30 seconds as you do them. In addition to this classic routine, Johnson and Johnson give you more options that are longer, more intense, less intense, and so forth. It does not matter if you are busy, traveling, or new to fitness. There is a workout in this app you can do. And the best on-demand workout app. There are also some best workout demand apps, workout demands uh, that give you a dime to dozen, but not all are equal in quality or price. Those that made this list here have a high quality of instructions and are priced appropriately or maybe free, though the styles vary, since not everyone is looking for the same thing in workout instructions. Some even let you in join the live classes far after a video streaming. A few that made the list here are the Bloglines, Trade, Forfeit, Kilo. These are the best on-demand workout apps. If you see, some wants some nutrition to lose the weight. So these people want some nutritional apps. For them, there are some nutritional apps. Like nutrition apps often focus on weight loss mainly, but they can be helpful to use if you are shifting to a new diet plan. For example, if you are moving to a plant-based diet, you might want some help figuring out if you are getting enough protein. Nutrition app do this and more. Some of the best are, that is one of my favorite, that is My Fitness Pal, My Palette, Lifespan, Noom. Noom is in fact a complete weight loss program with daily interactive content, a personal goal approach where you will find a personal coach, psychologist involved with changing your relationship to food. Now the fitness pal has long been top pickup for counting calories because it has the biggest database of food you can find for both name brand packaged foods and homemade meals. If It is so widely used that you will find calorie and nutritional information for food from all around the world in it. You also get a lot with the free version of this. For pro versions you have to pay money, which is not the case with some of the other apps. The best activity tracking apps are also there. We included a few activity tracking apps in this list, which log your activities as you do them. If you run, it will count distance, count your time of run, and other relevant stats. If you wear a heart rate monitor while during the running, while doing an activity, the app will show a graph of your heart rate for the session when you are done. This Map My Fitness is my top recommendation for people who are just getting started on a fitness journey, because it has the hundreds of activities you can track, everything from vacuuming to rock climbing. When you can track all your activities, see how the people, how they add up to a fitter lifestyle, you might feel more motivated to keep at it. Another one of the best app for tracking activity motivates you for donating money to charity for this pandemic time, or run, walk, or bicycle. This app is called Charity Miles. Charity Miles app, you don't even have to be competitive or an extrovert to use it. So you can use it. The other workout app, the with some athletes or some students may they are having in a set up to go workout with the music. Now there are some apps with music, a couple of fitness apps to bring with your music designated to power your workouts. No matter what it is you do, get fit. The two that the two that made it list were Fit Radio and Rock My Run. These are the two apps with music. The music may be run at the backstage. With these apps, you can get professional DJ quality mixing songs that match your running tempo, or tracks made for your activity of choice, such as elliptical training or yoga. So, dear students, according to me, I have just said about the fitness apps. In nutshell, I will just the last part. I will compile the last part of this presentation. That is, according to me, the best overall. That is MyFitnessPal, because it is a fitness app for someone who wants it all. The best budget app, daily workout fitness trainer. Best for Apple Watch. You can go through the Jones for training, which can monitor your resting or active heart rates. Best monitoring nutrition. Foodukit is also one of the goods. My Fitness app or My Fitness Pal is good, and Foodukit is also one of that. Best for yoga, that is GLO app. It offers daily curated classes to meet your needs. There are more than 3,000 exercises are in GLO app. The best for the beginners, those who are beginners, they can go through this short kit. And for the weight trainers or weightlifters, go for G-Fit Workout Planner Gym Log. So, Ankan, how much time left? Ankan, are you
Hello.
hearing me? Ankan, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can
How much?
continue for a while.
Okay,
You can continue.
okay, sir. Thank you. See, so there are some apps which are best for the medication purpose. That is Headspace. A Headspace can help you to manage your depression, anxiety by the sound pleasing music and chronic pain. Even specialized sets of the gear. So these are the apps you can go through. There are one best trainer in your pocket, Peer Personal Fitness app that collects the data from your smartphone and smart was to create a personality. Best for fitness, quick workout. That is I already said. That is 7 minute workout plan. So these are the apps. So if you are not involved or not doing the physical activities, I request all of you to involve in physical activity, because every moment matters at this outset of pandemic COVID-19. Please involve in physical activities. You can walk with your parents, with your family members. You can space in the terrace. You can work. You can do physical activities in your home with dumbbells and all. According to John O'Sullivan, he said every moment matters. So this is my presentation. I have finished my presentation. Thank you, Uncle Sir. And now I'm. Shall I start my video?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You can go for it, sir. Go for it.
First, I have to stop sharing, or we have to close it.
You have
This.
to stop sharing, and again you have to share the screen with video.
Okay, sir.
First of all, open the video in your desktop and make it in keep it in pause
Okay.
condition. Then come to share screen.
Okay. Now I will share my screen
Yes, sir.
application window. That is okay. I'm sharing the video. See,
Okay, sir.
it is visible to you all, Uncle sir.
No, sir. No, it is not visible.
Now, okay. Yes. Uh, now,
You have to play. You have to
okay.
play the video.
See,
You have to play the video, sir.
it started
No, no, sir.
from my side. It is started.
Okay, okay, okay. Then I'm trying. Stop the sharing.
Okay. I'm
Okay, sir. I'm trying, sir.
okay. This video is 211 FIFA member associations and media agencies together with the FIFA digital channels. You can watch this video also, which emphasizing on five important key points.
It is visible, sir.
Yeah, make it in the full screen. It's a joint collaboration with WHO and FIBA. Total 28 players are involved in this video campaign, which is being published in 13 languages. Emphasizing on five key points like hand washing, cuffing etiquette, not touching one's face, physical distance, staying home if you are feeling unwell. You can also I have shared the link. You can watch. You can all also watch in YouTube also. So
Okay.
see the impact of COVID-19. Okay, I am audible to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You are audible.
So there are few trends in health and wellness during this post-COVID COVID-19. You can see the first we are hearing from the last few months back that is Jaan hai to jahan hai. If there is life, there is the war. PM Narendra Modi's kind of drilled the Jaan hai to jahan hai credo in his active consciousness of the entire nation during this one of its lockdown broadcast on television. The second one of the most important point, that is social distancing is the new mantra. सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग न्यू मंत्र इज 2 गज की दूरी जरूरी है. 2 गज की दूरी है जरूरी. Becoming a must while interacting socially nowadays. And the last one, that is jaan bhi jahan bhi. So thank you so much, sir. If there are any questions, then we will proceed.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Before proceeding toward the end of this lecture, we have lots of questions and queries as well from the participants. So it is very difficult to cover all the questions and queries. I have already mentioned that we will ask the related one and the selective one. So there are few questions I would like to ask you, which is in our control, or is which is in your hand. Okay, so first one is, when might we see live sports event, especially cricket again? It is query, I think, not the question.
Okay, okay. See, during this pandemic time, uh, you see, there will be no cricket in India or in the world until at least July 1st. The shutdown has been the postpone of one day and the test series, the bilateral series, not only in cricket, the other sports also. It
Mm,
depends. It depends on the how the it depends on the government guidance, not only
okay.
for the safe stacking of a match, but also for the teams that actually being allowed to travel. And the extent of the damage will see one of the most important thing. Almost the safety of the players also be one of the key points which the government look after. So it no it later on the extent of damage will how the progress the COVID-19 progress, it all depends on it.
Agreed, sir.
Hope,
Agreed, sir.
hope we will
Okay.
find some good cricket later on. Any
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Agreed,
question?
sir. One more question. What is the long-term damage to the sports from grassroots up? So,
See, almost certainly without the now the sports are without fans. The bigger damage, the long-term damage, in my view, in my opinion, the extent of damage will depends on the progression of the virus, right? And this progression of the virus, while the sports get governmental approval needed to restart, that we can imagine how it may long, maybe up to the October, up to the this whole 2020 year, there will be no sports. But sports are on, but without fans. So it
yes,
depends. The
yes.
games in the summer without crowds could be
Hmm.
started, but it will be started, but no cash flow. You see, no cash flow, no audiences, no broadcast, and see, few months would be likely to send some to the wall. Hope that around the damage to the sports, we can't say right now. Let the time passes, the analysis of the results, we will find it, what is the total damage. But the impact we have discussed in our first part of the session, that
Mm-hmm. Yes,
on
sir. Something related to that, sir. One
yeah,
more question from Sangram Bhattacharya, that,
yeah,
sir, post COVID-19, is there chances of change in rules in many sports, as
yeah.
it can be seen in EPL or Bundesliga?
If you like, okay, see, there are chances. There are chances because the government and government has published the advisories for the sport clubs according to the nature of the game. Like the combative games, for example, rugby, they have a separate advisory because this is a body contact game. In those games like the archery, shootings, they have the different advisory. For example, in cricket, there is a different advisory given by the government. So we have to follow whatever the advisory given by the AFL. We have to look after that.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Hope
sir.
the yeah,
So, sir,
please.
last one for you, sir, because we have lots of questions, but I will mail you or text you so that you
Yeah,
can
definitely.
reply it in my personal mail, so that I can convey it to the participant. Very difficult to reply, because if you are means as per the point of administrative point of view, so it's
Yeah,
not in our controls. That's why I'm not asking. One last question, sir, that is by our sir Nivas Chandrasil, sir. He has written that, how present social distancing fulfill the major aim of sports and physical activity, social development of children. How it can be possible to get the social development, how we can be socially developed, physically developed, and mentally even, through in this crucial situation of COVID-19, by
see,
maintaining the social distancing.
about the social distancing, there are the three main things regarding this COVID-19. That is wearing of the mask, keeping social distance, and washing hands regularly. But it will be very difficult for the small kids because we have to to keep your to wash your hands timely, regularly, after
Hmm.
1 hours and 2 hours, and social distancing, because we don't know, but we don't know the who is the carrier of this COVID-19.
So,
Uh,
absolutely, sir, you are
COVID,
saying the
yeah,
truth.
we have to follow. It's in even in your families, even in your workplace. Please keep social distancing because nobody knows who is the carrier. Yeah,
Yes, sir,
and
absolutely.
and
In
and,
addition,
and we have and we have to boost our immune system by participating in physical activities. Yes,
yes, yes, yes, yes. That is the key
right.
thing. I think so. And in addition to that, you have, sir, in this social maintaining means maintenance, you have to undergo some online classes like this, so
Yeah,
that you will have the idea of how to do workout within by keeping yourself in your room or in your
right.
home gym, like home gym. Attend all the
Exactly.
online fitness classes. Go for
Yes, exactly.
meditation.
Yeah,
we are
exactly.
socializing we are socializing ourselves by attending these kind of seminars. These through this kind of activity you can be socially developed too.
Yeah.
So these are the few tricks.
This right. This is the odd time we will definitely cross it.
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir,
Thank you.
thank you, sir, for such a lively presentation. Sir, your lecture gave us data based information and take us to the fact of how COVID-19 affects the sports sector financially. किस तरह से फाइनेंशियली लॉस हो रहा है और कितना सारा इफेक्ट हो रहा है हमारा पूरा देश एज फार एज स्पोर्ट्स इज कंसर्न. So thank you, sir, for your great and wonderful presentation. And I hope we will catch you soon in some other program, as I've said earlier too. So thank you
Definitely.
once again, sir.
Yeah,
Thanks, sir.
definitely. It's my pleasure, and thanks to all the organizers and Sarkar sir. Thank you, Ankit sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So now we are proceeding towards the next lecture, which will be given by the most the person with golden heart and so humble heart. He's the humble person and with ample of achievements, with all possible achievements in his bag as far as sports and as far as weightlifting is concerned. He is the Olympian. He's the Commonwealth player. He's the national lifter. He's the African game champion. He's the Indian Ocean Island champion. He's the national lifter, all India lifter. Apart from all these achievements, he's the national coach of Mauritius in the game of weightlifting. And more than that, he's the true educator. He's presently working as an educator in State College of Mauritius. So please welcome one of our friend, the most
Hello.
hello
Hello,
hello
Angad sir. Hello. How are you?
fine, sir, fine, sir, fine, sir.
Hello,
So please,
everyone.
all of you, welcome Mr. Ravi Bhola. Please, sir, you can go with your presentation.
First of all, Ankan sir, thank you so much for this nice presentation.
Thank you.
Well, hello, everyone. First off, I hope that you and your family are keeping well and safe in those period of uncertainty. I know about the situation in India. It's quite terrible. If I'm not mistaken, more than 300,000 people affected with the COVID virus. Here in Mauritius, the situation is quite under control. We didn't have had many positive cases, 337 most precisely. We have had 325 people who recovered from COVID, and unfortunately enough, 10 people who died. Well, as you said, we are living in a period of uncertainty. So thanks for inviting me for this webinar. It actually gives me an immense pleasure to address you a few words today on the occasion of this webinar organized by the Department of Physical Education of the Government Degree College, Northern Tirupura. Well, thanks again, Ankan, for giving me this opportunity to speak, to be among the presenters today. As you all know, the topic of this webinar is related to emerging yogic practices and fitness trends during this period of pandemic. Being oriented on practices and trends in weightlifting more precisely, I believe the previous presenters have spoken quite long and enough of the need of physical activity during those period of lockdown. I will be concentrating my presentation, being, as I said, a professional in the sport of weightlifting, to the sport of weightlifting more precisely. So I will be speaking about the situation of weightlifting in Mauritius, what we did during the period of lockdown, and what we have done upon resumption. Because as a matter of fact, we were quite lucky to resume training since this week, since Wednesday most precisely. So our elite athletes have resumed training, and it's a good news for us, hopefully. I don't think it's the case in India, but thankfully to the measures taken by the government, the situation has been under control, and I can vouch that life has almost returned to a normal here in Mauritius. So the topic of my presentation will be the impact of COVID-19 on elite Mauritian athletes, Mauritian weightlifters, the effects of detraining. I believe whatever you will learn regarding the effects of detraining, these can be applied to various sports, to all other sports, and the measures taken to ensure a swift and effective return to the sport. I'll be talking on the measures taken to safeguard the future of weightlifting here in Mauritius. I joined in the presentation of Dapola sir around 20 minutes ago. We spoke about the economic impact of the difficulties we are expecting sports around the world to face due to an economic crisis which is at doom. So we had to take measures to actually ensure that the sport of weightlifting, the interests of our sports are safeguarded. Just to give you a quick insight, my today's presentation will be in three parts. I will start to briefly introduce myself so that the participants, the viewers, have an insight on my background. I will also be doing a small and brief lecture on weightlifting and coaching principles. Then I will speak on the situation, as I said, of weightlifting. By entourage, I mean people surrounding an athlete, such as coaches, physio, the federation, and everyone else. And finally, I will speak about the measures we have adopted to ensure a swift return to the sport. I would like to assert that though I will be speaking mainly about weightlifting, you have to consider that more or less the same situation is prevailing in most amateur sports here in Mauritius and in many other countries around the world. So may I request your full attention as I will be shifting on each of the different parts quite progressively. So as Ankan very nicely introduced in the beginning, I'm from Mauritius. For those who don't know, Mauritius is a small, tiny island of approximately 2,000 square kilometers in the middle of the Indian Ocean, with a population of around 1.3 million. That is 13 lakhs, as big as Delhi, I would say, not in terms of population, but in terms of area. It is interesting to also point out that 60%, around 60% of our population actually migrated from India in the 18th century. They were brought here by the British who ruled over Mauritius, and coincidentally over India as well during the same period. And for that fact, Mauritius is also known as Little India, and Little India, or Chota Bharat, as the Honorable Narendra Modi likes to say. Mauritius is well renowned for its beautiful beaches. We have one of the most beautiful beaches in the world, and actually a very top honeymoon destination. So if any one of you is planning to get married soon and you're looking for a honeymoon spot, I would definitely recommend Mauritius. Coming back to me, as Ankan said, I'm an educator employed by the Ministry of Education here in Mauritius. I'm actually very much thankful and how to say, and among the thankful ones and few ones here in Mauritius to have completed my bachelor's degree from the reputed Lakshmibai National Institute of Physical Education, Gwalior, in 2005 with specialization in weightlifting. I'm also currently occupying the post of national coach since 2013. I've been a weightlifter myself, and my career spanned over 15 years. Well, participated in 2002 Commonwealth Games and also the 2010 Delhi Commonwealth Games. And during my 3 years at LNIP, I also had the immense privilege to compete at 2 editions of the Inter-University Weightlifting Championships in 2002 and 2004. I would like to take this moment to share something with you, very, very personal, guys, coming right from my heart. You know, if there's one thing that I regret very much in my sports career, that would be not being able to win a medal for LNIP during my 2 participations. I feel really bad and actually very regretful about it that I was not able to win a medal for LNIP. Ankan sir, who's actually one of my batchmates, just like Dapola sir, they know how much I regret the fact that I couldn't win a medal, and there were so much hopes on me when I was at LNIP. But well, that's life. This is how sports is, and we have to accept it. About me, what can I say? Because I believe it's important that you guys, since the topic of my presentation is specific about weightlifting, so that you have a brief insight about the person who is talking, about my background. I also I should mention that I'm among the very few sportsmen here in Mauritius who has been able to represent the country in 2 different sports. In 2011, I decided to halt my career as a weightlifter, and the next year I was given a proposal to start playing rugby. And in 2012, as I said, I said, okay, let me give a try, because you know I always had that how to say, that urge to indulge myself in a competitive activity. So following that proposal, I started to give a try. I would say that it was quite a hard and tough experience at the beginning. For those who know me, like Ankan sir, he knows how I hated running, especially during conditioning classes. So after competing and training for weightlifting for more than 15 years, as you know, weightlifting is a sport where you have to train on a platform. It's quite static. And going for all kinds of fitness activities, it was quite a hard time at the beginning. But through determination and hard work, I was able to find my place in the team. and eventually got selected in the national team as well. So I quite take some pride about that. So I wanted to share that with you. Coming to weightlifting, I also completed my international coaching certificate in 2016 at the TF University in Budapest. And speaking about me, finally, I would add up that I'm also a member of the coaching and research committee of the Weightlifting Federation of Africa. I also believe that I've known more success as a coach than as a player. So, well, just to, coming actually to the topic now. So just to put things well into perspective and to make sure you guys are well aware that we are talking about weightlifting. I will be talking about weightlifting or Olympic weightlifting, which is the competitive form of lifting weights and not weight training or powerlifting or bodybuilding, in case some of you might be confused or have a wrong interpretation about weightlifting. The sport of Olympic weightlifting comprises of two competitive events. Ankan, if you could go to the next slide. So just in case any of you doesn't know about the events, the events, right, in Olympic weightlifting, they are the snatch and the clean and jerk. The objective of the sport is to lift the heaviest barbell in both lifts. Weightlifting is a strength sport where maximal force is involved. The training or preparation system is based on something you are well aware of, which is known as training periodization. And training periodization, as you know, is the process of structuring a program into various training periods with well-defined training parameters. Okay. During different times of the year, training workouts vary in length or number of repetitions in a training session, for instance, and the percentage of one's maximum capacity resulting in improved performance. Just to briefly summarize what training periodization is. We are not here to go into details on that, but again, just to give you a proper insight of the sport and how things are evolve in training, in the training process. Periodization process is we can break that into three phases: the loading phase, the adaptation phase, and the recovery phase. Okay, so again, why I want you guys to be aware of that is to have a good and proper understanding on how the sport of weightlifting, the training of the sport of weightlifting goes. Because when we will start speaking about detraining, etc., I will come elaborate the different points and the different effects of detraining. So it is important, I believe, so that you understand that how the training process goes on in the sport of weightlifting, which is actually true for many other sports. So, the same, speaking about periodization, the same is planned over short and long periods, what we call or term as macrocycles or microcycles. And the idea is to give training stimulus to athletes so that induces multiple increases in athletic performance known as peaks. I'm sure many of you have come across numbers on many occasions, actually random numbers. When you go to the gym, people will tell you, okay, today training, okay, you do 5 times 5, 5 times 10, or 10 times 10, like figures, okay, as training program. And has any of you actually thought about, like, are these numbers like just random numbers? Okay, is there any like rocket science behind? Okay, how do those coaches or those people giving you training plans come up with those numbers? Okay, I'm sure many of you have actually never asked those questions. You've just said, okay, I believe this guy, like my coach, as we know, we have a big deal of respect towards our coaches. So if the coach is saying 5 times 5, okay, I will go for 5 times 5 in bicep curl, for example. But does that make any sense to you? Why doing 5 times 5 and not I don't know, 6 times 3? Okay. So again, as I said earlier, I would also be doing a brief, like a sort of presentation on weightlifting, because that's my domain, and the process of training, and some, let's say, some misconceptions about the sport. Okay, so yeah, coming to those numbers. So I was asking, have you ever asked yourself about this? Okay. Hence, the training program is based on maximal strength. You will often in weightlifting actually hear numbers like 3 times 1, 3 times 2, 4 times 2. And in very rare cases, 5 times 5 or 5 times 10. Because when we are working on series and repetitions of more than 5 and 10, what we are doing is targeting endurance capacities, which is not the case for weightlifters. Okay. So this was briefly about the figures I can say we speak in weightlifting. Okay, Ankan sir, can you go to the next slide, please? Yeah, I was speaking about periodization. I'm sure you must have come across one of those graphs, okay, which speaks on the stimulus, where you have a training load and a phase of regeneration, supercompensation phase, and then the athlete moves to a higher level. Okay, so as I was, can you go to the next slide, Ankan? Okay. Let's now talk about the chronological order of preparation. So in weightlifting, the preparatory cycle is divided into 3 stages, 3 phases. Okay. The first one is the preparatory period. Okay, I will give an example only on the preparatory period so that we can proceed quite faster on that. We have what is known as a pre-competitive period and a competitive period. So basically, the preparatory period will be how to say, will be on a 4 to 6 weeks period. Okay, the pre-competitive period, which is normally the longer period, will be on a 6 to 8 weeks period, and the competitive period will be at maximum 4 weeks. Now we are speaking about like high-level athletes. We are not talking about beginners or sub-elite athletes. That's why the preparatory period is often on such a long period. Okay, so yeah, I was speaking about the chronological order. Yeah, coming to the preparatory. Can we move to the next slide, Ankan? Preparatory period. Okay, yeah, so now you have a graphical representation of how the training process lines actually that you can see represents the training load. So you will see that during the preparatory phase, the training load is quite high. The training volume rather is quite high. As we proceed through the preparation process and we shift to the preparatory period, the volume decreases, and as we proceed to the competitive period, which is a few weeks before the competition, the volume decreases. And at the same time, if you observe the red line at the top, you will see that there will be an increase in the performance of the athlete. And if you consider the last, not the last, but the before last column, you will see that the athlete who is preparing, for example, for a main event, will have his highest peak reach during that period. Okay. So this is about the training process, how the training load, the repartition of a training load is done over a certain period. Shall we proceed to the next slide? Okay. Development of physical abilities. Okay, so just like physical components in weightlifting, we have what we call physical abilities, like strength endurance, maximal strength endurance, speed. We have maximal strength, etc., etc. We do not really work on what we call as cardiovascular endurance, because weightlifting is not an endurance sport. Okay, it is a strength sport. The idea being to compete at an event and try to lift the highest weight so as to be able to win the event. Okay. Speaking about strength endurance, as some of you might know, it is the ability to carry on doing exercise or movement for a long period of time with relative big external training load. For example, the training principle of bodybuilders is oriented towards the development of strength endurance abilities. Maximal strength endurance, the ability to overcome maximal loads with maximal voluntary muscle contraction for a long period of time with relative big external training load, also similar to bodybuilding. Okay, in weightlifting, what we tend to develop is explosive strength, speed strength, and maximal strength. Okay, so speaking about maximal strength, it is the ability to overcome maximal external loads with a maximal voluntary contraction, for example, when executing a snatch or a deadlift in powerlifting, for example. So earlier, if you remember, we were talking about three different pre-competitive and competitive period. So coming to the figures and numbers I was mentioning earlier, okay? So actually these figures, if a qualified coach will be giving out a program, he will put in place like this training methodology, okay? For example, during the preparatory period for the different exercises, the number of sets that will be prescribed will be 8 to 12. Okay, if you know what I mean by sets, is mean each group, for each exercise, you will be prescribed a certain number of sets and repetitions. So during the preparatory period, the number of sets will be 18 to 12. Okay, very rarely up to 12, but it usually lies between 8 to 10. But we have athletes of smaller categories who can go up to 12 sets. And the number of repetitions is between 3 to 5 maximum. Okay. In other sports, for example, which sports I can make mention of? Let's say track and field. Okay. In a similar way, if a 100-meter runner will be doing short sprints, he will do, like in the preparatory period, up to 8 to 10 rounds of his short sprints. Just an example. Well, I'm not an expert in track and field, but I believe it is the same principle that is used. Okay, and the range of intensity will be very low during the preparatory period. So what we are aiming is a high volume training with a lot of repetitions and relatively low volume. Okay, and it goes on like this. I won't be going into details about the pre-competitive and the pre-competitive periods. It's just to give you an insight. Okay, what kind of training is done in weightlifting? Okay, so let's move to the next slide, Ankant. Okay, so what happens? What happens when a weightlifter, for instance, and actually true for other sports, what are the physiological responses to training? Okay, what happens when a weightlifter is doing, for example, back squats, snatch, clean and jerk, or deadlifts, etc.? There's, as you know, an increase in muscular strength, which is quite normal for a sport of weightlifting, and which is equally true for other sports. Let's say for a badminton player who has to do jump shots, or as they call it, smash shots, doing numerous number of jump shots or smash shots, he will automatically have an increase in muscular of his thighs. Okay, there will be an increase leg muscular strength, which is quite normal to understand. We have also what we call hypertrophy. Okay, so weightlifters, as you know, will undergo hypertrophy. They will have an increased volume of the different muscular groups they have been working. Ligaments and tendons will become stronger. Okay, weight training is one of the exercises. I'm speaking again about weight training now, okay, including weightlifting as well, will help you increase your ligaments and tendons. You will have an increase in the number of fast twitch muscles, which is the case for weightlifting especially. When speaking about endurance sports, obviously you will have an increase in the number of slow twitch muscle fibers, increase in bone density, increased capillarity around muscles and alveolus in the lungs, okay, which will bring about improved respiratory capacity, speaking about alveolus and the lungs, of course, improve cardiovascular capacity, okay, we'll have a better working heart, hypertrophy at the level of the heart, okay, also known as brachycardia. Improve anaerobic capacity, because weightlifting is an anaerobic sport. We can also, if we relate to other sports, endurance sports, obviously you will have an improved aerobic capacity. Improve neuromuscular coordination. As you know, the sport of weightlifting, when speaking about the different events, snatch and clean and jerk, you need, it's a combination of motor responses, neuromuscular coordination in the execution of the different lifts. So as a weightlifter, weightlifters have well adapted neuromuscular, capacities and abilities, okay? Improve hormonal responses. Weightlifters tend to have a high natural testosterone level, and also we will find out a decrease in body fat, okay? So all this happens when an athlete is training using barbells. He is using the different equipment available in a proper training center. As I said, barbells, platforms, we have all kinds of equipment. Elite weightlifter for major events. For example, we have one athlete, one weightlifter who is still in preparing for the Tokyo Olympic Games, though the games have been postponed for next year. So we have like this athlete preparing for the Olympic Games. We have other athletes preparing for other events, and I will of course, speaking later during this presentation, elaborate about the objectives of our athletes that have unfortunately been, I would say, had to be rescheduled because of the COVID pandemic. So we had an insight about weightlifting, about how the preparatory process goes in the sport. So now let's see what happens and what actually happened during this pandemic period, where athletes were forced to stay at home. And in the case of weightlifting, they were away from the training center, and they didn't have any kind of access to weightlifting training facilities. And they went into what is called as a forced detraining. Okay, there's detraining, which is actually a training methodology, often referred to as reversibility. And in the current situation, our athletes are facing what I have called as forced detraining. Okay. Speaking about detraining, okay, we'll first have a look of what detraining is. Then we will see, then we'll compare detraining, which is actually a training methodology used in various sports, not used in weightlifting. Okay. We will compare that to the forced detraining. Okay. Detraining reflects the fact that if a training stimulus is insufficient or removed entirely, then the aspect of physiological conditioning and the physiological changes that we have seen earlier begins to decline. In other words, the individual begins to lose his fitness. Okay? Detraining is actually, as I was saying, a training methodology which can and is included in the preparatory process of many sports. I know, like sports like in some events of track and field, they do. Same for sports like maybe badminton. Again, I might be wrong. I'm not an expert, but I know that in various sports, they use detraining as a training methodology. Okay, so what is this detraining? The principle is to put an athlete off training for several days. So he had been undergoing going through the various part of the preparatory process, coming close to the competition date, the athlete is put off training for several days. When I'm saying several days, doesn't mean for weeks, but like 2-3 days, with the aim to recover from the preparation hardships, or in some cases from an injury or resulting overtraining. Okay, if an athlete has been overtraining, has faced overtraining, coaches will put that athlete on rest, and this rest is termed as detraining. Okay, I hope you guys are able to follow me there. Okay, if there's anything which is not very clear, you can always ask me at the end of the presentation. Okay, or Ankansa, if there's anything which is not very clear, please do not hesitate to ask for clarifications. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
In weightlifting, speaking about weightlifting, detraining is actually termed as tapering. I don't know if you've ever come across this term, which is quite similar to detraining, but instead of going off training for a few days, the athlete, what he does, not the athlete, but the coach, what he will do, he will gradually and progressively decrease the training volumes and intensity as we approach the competition date. A complete detraining prior to a competition for weightlifter is not recommended. Okay? A weightlifter, for instance, will still have a light training session even on the eve of his or her competition. Okay? In the case of weightlifters, we don't have a season system like they have in athletics, in track and field, where the competitive season spans over a few months. A weightlifter will start training. I'm not saying preparing. He will train basically from the 1st of January till the 31st of December. Okay? Of course, the coach will have the responsibility to adjust, to vary, and training system during the preparation. The intensity, the volume will vary throughout the year. if you remember the graph we saw earlier, okay, which was for only a part of the year, okay, for a few months, because again, we are speaking about high performance elite athletes, okay. In that case, the graph which I showed you, if you remember, that was the preparatory cycle for one of my athletes who was preparing for the Youth World Championships last year, where he actually did very well. He placed 4th in the snatch, and he missed the bronze medal like by 1 lift, okay, not by 1 kg. I was going to say 1 kg, but by 1 lift. So very, very unfortunate for him and for me as well as coach. So yeah, coming back to our topic. So we were speaking about the methodology and the how to say the training principles around training an athlete, preparing for him for an event. We've seen about detraining, and we've seen that detraining as a methodology is not prescribed, is not required by a weightlifter. But the COVID-19 pandemic has forced our athletes to go in some kind of forced detraining, as I was saying, okay? And this has actually and very severely impacted on their performance, okay? So weightlifters, speaking of course, of Mauritian weightlifters, well, not only weightlifters. I was going to say that our athletes have been forced into lockdown. Well, the thing is, the whole country has been locked down since the 18th of March. And the lockdown here has durated for almost 90 days. We were speaking about like a few days earlier. Now imagine weightlifters, okay, who have been preparing, in the case of our athlete who was preparing for the Olympic Games, having been forced into lockdown for more than 90 days. I think, as a matter of fact, not as a matter of fact, but I think I should also mention to you that one of the most important events for my athletes this year was the African Senior Weightlifting Championships, which was the final continental qualifying event for the Tokyo Olympic Games, which was actually supposed to be held in Mauritius during the month of April. Means we were this year. We were expecting around 200 athletes from all over Africa, of course. And my athletes had been preparing for that since last year, because our preparatory cycle for the event started since November last year. They were so much excited and motivated about the fact that the event was going to be held on home grounds. Imagine competing in front of their family, in front of their friends, in front of the Mauritian public. And all of a sudden, we hear that there's a disease, not a disease as such, but a pandemic caused by a virus. Okay, we can say a disease caused by a virus known as coronavirus, then changed to COVID, hitting the world, borders across the borders and airports around the world being closed. And one day we just got a correspondence from the International Weightlifting Federation informing us that, okay, we are postponing the African Championships. It was like a disaster for those athletes. Okay, their motivation, even their performance was at an all-time high. And now, because of the pandemic, we had to cancel all training. Even the different competitions, including the African Championships, had to be postponed. And now it will be held in April next year. So what kind of I would say disaster is that in the life of an athlete? But well, we can't do anything, unfortunately, about that, because we have also to agree that the health of athletes, of not only athletes but the entourage, as I said, the coaches, the physiotherapists, the managers, the technical officials who would have traveled to Mauritius for the event. We had to make sure that, well, the interest, the health of these peoples are safeguarded.
Excuse me,
You
sir.
know, yes,
Ravi, sir.
yep.
Hello,
Tell me.
sir. If you want, then you can ask me to change the slide, sir. Is it okay? The training.
Well, can you just go to the previous slide, previous one? No, I mean previous one. Go back, please. Yeah, just keep it on the effects of detraining.
Okay, okay. Sir.
Yeah, I will let you know when to change the slide, Ankan. So I was saying that, it is fair to say that while sport may be at the center of a lot of, has vastly diminished during this public health crisis. As we know, it is for the first time in the history of the modern Olympic Games that the Olympics have been postponed. But we have to say that this is a minor issue when we consider that there are thousands of people around the world dying daily. In India, for instance, I know like more than 12,000 people died of the COVID-19. So we have to be realistic, okay? Sport is important, but the life of the general public, I would say, is more important in the current situation. Speaking about postponement of the games, do any of you know that, are you aware that in the past, the Olympic Games were actually cancelled on 3 occasions? Well, unfortunately, you won't be able to reply. I will have a look at the comments. Okay, just trying to make this session interactive. Any of you, do you know that the Olympic Games had been cancelled on 3 occasions? If yes, please post your answer. No one?
Yes, they are replying, sir.
Okay. Yes, we have to wash hands, Mr. Mukesh Sharma. Okay. So we'll have a look at your answers later on. So, yeah, the Olympic Games had been cancelled on 3 occasions, exactly due to World War. Okay. So on the 3 occasions, it was cancelled due to World War. The first one was the first time the Olympic Games were cancelled was due to World War I, First World War. That was in 1916. Yes, 1944 was the time for the third time. It was for the third time that the Olympic Games were cancelled. That was because of World War II. Okay, because of World War II, which spanned over more than 4 years, the Olympic Games were cancelled in 1940 and 1944. So, coming back to the situation of weightlifting, weightlifting in Mauritius especially, I need to say that, and you need to be, let's say, for your kind information, I'm sharing those information. Weightlifting in Mauritius is actually one of the smallest sports on the island. If you consider the number of licensed athletes we have less than 100 licensed athletes, which makes it a very, very small sport in comparison to India. Okay, the number of registered athletes with the Indian Weightlifting Federation is more than 2 to 3 lakhs. And here we are speaking about 100 the sport is in weightlifting. Okay, and the interesting fact is, though being the smallest sport on the island, okay, we have been one of the most, or I would say the sport who has brought the highest number of medals for the country at various international events during the last 2 years. Just as an example, at the last Commonwealth Games in Gold Coast in 2018, weightlifting was the only sport to have brought a medal for Mauritius. It was a silver medal, and the gold medal was won by an Indian lifter, okay, who is actually also the world champion in 2018, in 2017 rather. So yeah, we were able to being a small sport, we were able to, you know, to be placed next to the world champion, okay, and the gold medalist of the Commonwealth Games. So why I'm speaking about that, not to flatter myself or my sport, to make you understand that how being a sport with very few licensees, what kind of danger, what kind of difficulties that we might face as a sport. You know, if there tomorrow, let's say, all the athletes decide to stop training, me as a coach, I wouldn't have a job, okay? And as a coach, and being a small sport, and as a coach, I need to say that I basically know all the athletes on the island. I know where they live. I know their background. I know their family background. I know their parents. In some cases, I know where they work. I know almost everything. Well, everything which I need to know, of course, about the athletes. So in some way, it is also good, you know, to be aware of the whereabouts of your athletes and to know who they are. And in some way, that also helped. Okay, in some way it helped because I was in permanent contact with most of them. Okay, we have like a WhatsApp group, a messenger group. We have both, but we communicate more on the messenger group. So for me as a coach, I had to, you know, to speak to them, like we share jokes, etc. And on a personal basis, I also like communicate with them, you know, to know about their health status, to know if everything is fine at home, if they are having any difficulties. And the thing is, you know, to follow online physical training classes, which I will elaborate a bit later. I was speaking about online classes that athletes had to follow every day. Okay, so well, this whole situation, this isolation situation, has you know, made it impossible for those athletes to have any kind of contact with physical contact. I mean, like physical and personal contact with the training equipment, with the support staff, with the coaches, and everything was limited to online access, online training, online information, etc. Okay, so what I want to say is, for weightlifters to remain at home and to expect that by doing exercises like freehand exercises, aerobics, or exercises with resistance bands, etc., it is very difficult for weightlifters to, you know, to maintain their level, or to engage in any kind of strength training, like proper strength training for weightlifter. That brings us to the effects of detraining. Okay, so detraining, being at home, having not having access to your basic weightlifting equipment, barbell, the platform, the squat rack, has affected the fitness of our athletes. So what we had to do, we were aware of that. It is true that at the beginning of the lockdown, we were not aware how long this this whole lockdown will extend. Okay, we thought it would be like just for a few weeks, because at the beginning the government called for a 2 weeks lockdown, then it was extended for another 2 weeks, then for a month, and finally the whole lockdown durated for 90 days. Okay, so yeah, we spoke about the physiological changes brought by training. So what happens during lockdown, what happened to our athletes during lockdown, is simply the loss of all the physiological changes brought about by training. Okay, the athletes, well, though they resume as I said, on Wednesday, on the 15th, like 4 days ago. When they resumed, I thought that I would see athletes who are highly motivated. But I was quite astonished to see that, okay, the athletes were physically present in training, but there was this lack of motivation and excitement. So, area of major concern for us, for me as a coach at the moment, to bring back this motivation. Okay, so I'm still working since Wednesday. I'm actually working on strategies, which I will be speaking later on how to improve the motivation of athletes who have resumed training. Speaking about loss of motivation, what brings motivation is, I would say, mental vitality and vigor. When resuming training, in any instance, when you're going to training, you have to be someone who is excited about training. You're going to training, you have to be, excited about the fact that you're going to training. What will you achieve today? Are you going to achieve a personal best, or what the coach is preparing as training session? There's this element of surprise. So all this, as a coach, I will notice when the athletes come in the gym. I know just by looking at the face of that athlete that this athlete is ready for training or not. So if he's ready for training, we'll just go straight at it. Or if I see he's not ready for it, as a coach, I will have to readjust. Okay, find ways during the warm-up, for example, to motivate this guy, because he has come for training, and me as coach, I want to get the best out of this athlete. Okay. What we also noticed, like speaking to athletes on a daily basis, is that many of them, their interest have shifted to other activities, such as video games. I'm sure some of you, or most of you, have heard about the PUBG game. Okay, I don't know personally. I don't know about the game. I just heard about it. So I have had athletes who came to training and they were on their phone playing PUBG or PUBG. I'm not sure the name. Sorry for that. So they were, fully focused on the game. They came for training, but they're on their phone playing PUBG. Okay. Yesterday, my good friend, Mr. Sambhu Prasad, did a presentation on, I can't recall the topic. It was about internet, or can you remind me, Mr. Ankansa? The topic
it's all about internet and online addiction.
Online addiction, exactly. So it is actually true for elite athletes to have engaged themselves into some kind of one thing about internet and WhatsApp and groups, etc. As coach, I'm also being able to follow my athletes. I wouldn't say spy, but follow my athletes in terms of what time they're going to sleep, what time they have woke up. So it gives you an idea. If you see like an athlete, you send him a message, you share a message on Messenger at 1 a.m. in the morning, and you see like all of them have read the message within a few hours of sharing that message. So you know that your athletes are not sleeping when they were supposed to sleep. Okay, well, I cannot blame them neither, because when as an athlete doing high intensity training during the day, usually when you will go home, you are so tired that you would go straight to bed. I mean, you will go for your dinner and afterwards go straight to bed. And now coming into a lockdown period where you are not spending any energy, you're not doing any effort throughout the day, though we did like some kind of free hand exercises, okay, some Tabata sessions. I don't know if you're aware about that. Though we've been doing that, but still the athletes were not spending that much amount of energy there was not that much of muscle injury. Muscle injury. I'm not speaking about injury in sports, but muscle injury to improve performance. All this has not been done on the athletes. So at night, they don't feel tired and they don't feel the need to go to bed. So when there's all this, athletes, they are individuals, they are human beings. They have been home all the day, watching movies or playing PUBG or whatever, getting into all kinds of addiction. But now my concern is life is getting back to normal. And we are getting back to normal with a certain normality. By normality, I mean like we have to move around with masks, keep social distancing, etc., etc. But my concern as coach is to get those athletes back into training as soon as possible and get these athletes performing again, because though the African Championships or other events have been postponed for next year, we have to find ways to make these athletes resume training and be performing, be highly performant, because we are still organizing the African Championships next year, and we as organizers of gold medals especially, so we have to find ways and strategies to get those athletes out of the training. Okay, so there's an old saying that maybe you have heard of it: what goes up must come down, which applies just as much to fitness as to gravity. Okay, but what we are trying to do is to, let's say, what has gone down, now we are working hard to bring that up again. Okay, so yes, we spoke about loss of mental vitality, shift of interest, and desocialization. Okay, what is desocialization? It is a process by which I would say an individual experiences role loss and an accompanying loss of associated power or prestige. Okay, for example, following retirement from a sport. Okay, or in the case of lockdown, athletes have been staying home. So the athlete, when he resumes training, I've seen that on Wednesday, that even the relationship among certain athletes is not the same. Okay, I've noticed that there's some kind of loss of social identity, resulting in an maybe, I don't know, identity crisis, because this guy has been posting stuff on how to say, on Facebook. Okay, he's been doing extra exercises and trying to show the coach and the world that he's trying to do extra training, all this. Okay, so identity crisis, loss of peer status, loss of self-image and self-esteem, and all this, this distanciation, staying home, has contributed at a great extent into desocialization. Weightlifting is an individual sport, but still athletes rely on their teammates for support in training, for some kind of assistance. Many of my athletes, I make them train in pairs. Okay, of course, I pair them according to their physical abilities. So now you have athletes who want to train alone on their platform. Well, actually, it is a rule. Athletes have to respect social distancing and train on their own platforms. So all these measures risk to in some way reinforce this desocialization process. So we have to look into all these different aspects, the difficult and the new difficulties that they will be facing in the coming days after resumption of training. Okay, let's have a look at the next slide. Have to be quick. Detraining timescales. You can have a look by yourself on those detraining timescales. It happens during the training. Okay, like for example, after first 2 days, actually first 1 or 2 days is not very serious, but what happens is that the beta endorphin and adrenaline levels drop. Mood is affected negatively. For weightlifters, is actually true. If a weightlifter does not train like for 1 or 2 days, you can see that this guy is getting very irritative. He wants to come to training, etc., etc. You can rapidly go through this by yourself. It's quite straightforward. Like on days 3 to 5 days, muscles lose elasticity, aerobic capabilities drop, etc., etc. So you can have a look, guys. I won't be going too much into details, otherwise my presentation will be too lengthy. I don't want you guys to switch off neither. We can quickly have a look, which is quite interesting, on the next slide. Research done in Germany. Okay, so in 2017, some sports scientists did a research on detraining. So actually, you have also to consider that not many research have been done onto detraining. Why? Because it is very difficult to convince an athlete or to get an elite athlete into detraining for the purpose of a research or study. Because the athlete, you say, okay, let's join me for a study whereby you will have to detrain on purpose for 1 month. Imagine proposing that to a high-level athlete like, I don't know, Sania Nehwal. Okay, I'm sure she won't agree. So in the same manner, most elite athletes have been very reluctant to participate in any kind of studies related to detraining. But however, in 2017, some German scientists, what they did, they took a group of healthy men, I mean sportsmen, but not elite athletes, and forced them into bed rest for 60 days. And by bed rest, I mean strict bed rest, except for a control group who were allowed to do 3 minutes of daily activity. And the activity they were allowed to do was jumping and some low impact, I would say, exercises. Okay, which is pretty unbelievable, right? To keep healthy men for bed rest for 60 days. Okay, if you think lockdown is bad, imagine being one of those participants, bed rest for 60 days. So at this chart, you will see that the findings of this study showed that the bone mineral density went down by 2.5%, knee extension strength down by 41%, VO2 max, okay, not related to weightlifting, but for endurance sports, it might be very helpful, which went down by 29%. Lean mass of leg went down by 5%, knee flexion strength by 16%, and peak power output by 29%. So I might be speaking like in terms of experience or in terms of certain material I've read about detraining, but here you go, some research, some serious research, which has been done in 2017 regarding detraining. Well, let's move to the next slide, Ankan. Let's quickly speak about the strategies adopted by like me as coach and the federation, because I work closely with the federation so as to ensure that the interests of athletes and the sport are safeguarded. So I would say one of the key words, or the word you have to retain in this as a strategy, or for any individual during period of lockdown, is to be resilient. To be resilient and to be active. Resilient, what resilient means is you have to adapt to the current situation and not, be complaining, okay, I'm in lockdown, I cannot go for training. Yes, we all know we are in a period of lockdown and no one can go for training. So instead of complaining, you have to be resilient, you have to adapt yourself, and you have to find some ways of getting active. So resilient has been a keyword. I've been holding like talks to my athletes where I spoke very largely and into depth about ways to be resilient. Okay, so there is also the use it or lose it concept. What is this concept? Is, well, we know, I've been speaking a lot about the effects of detraining. We know that without barbell and specific weightlifting equipment, high-level elite athletes won't be able to keep their performance. The performance was expected and has gone down, but by doing certain kind of exercises, we can, reduce this detraining effect, and we can delay this detraining effect. Okay, so we also ask athletes, apart from training, to also to themselves and to their family. Those who are at school who have been, neglecting their studies, we ask them, get back to studies, concentrate and devote more time to studies, so that to give the athletes something to do, something meaningful to do, and not like stay in front of the TV or playing PUBG on their mobile phones. They were requested to do to use their time wisely. I know some athletes who did engage themselves into agriculture. You won't believe it, but it's quite fascinating to know. Not some, but more precisely, one of my athletes, he had this plot of land next to his house, and he started cultivating. He planted crops, so he was using his time wisely. I have other athletes who who started doing online courses, attending online webinars like we are doing today. The International Weightlifting Federation organized some webinars for athletes on different topics. So some athletes had the opportunity to attend those webinars. We also, in one case more precisely, had one athlete who also participated at the Youth World Championships last year. He placed 6th. He was suffering from a long trailing injury at his shoulders. So in his case, I devised a recovery program so that this guy, during the lockdown period, he was able, to actually recover from his injury. Okay. We also, we have like a small, as I was saying, we have an online chat group. We also have like a page on Facebook where we came up with those various online challenges which I'm sure you've come across. So we also encourage athletes to take up those challenges like push-up, abs challenge, etc. Okay. I've been also speaking about individually to some athletes, which I'm aware that they have, some weaknesses. Okay. Which we didn't have much time to devote to in the past. So individually, I've been speaking to those athletes. Let's say, for example, I know one example. For example, one athlete had weak shoulders, so he was asked to do resistance band exercises to reinforce his shoulders. Okay, we also devoted time to fitness components which we in the past were not working. For example, cardiovascular capacity, flexibility. Okay, I tried getting a resource person who would be free to do some yoga classes for my athletes, but unfortunately, no one doing some yoga classes, not every day, but like 2 or 3 times a week. But unfortunately, that didn't work. I was speaking about Tabata sessions. What are Tabata sessions? They are like kind of interval training, which lasts for, depending on your fitness level, it can last for 20 to 40 minutes or even more. So what we did is gradually increase the Tabata sessions time. At the beginning, we did 20-minute sessions. Then we ended up to 15-minute sessions. And it was quite beneficial. And finally, I also requested and recommended my athletes, to visualize online videos of athletes, of top level athletes, and also their own videos. Okay, we tried to together find out technique flaws, and we already elaborated a plan so that during resumption we will attack those flaws and improve the technique of athletes facing difficulties in those areas. So well, all in all, very briefly again, the adopted strategies during lockdown, and those who will be we will be including in the training process upon resumption. Can we go to the next slide, Angan? Okay, well, again, you can go through this. This is one of the training plans I devised for one of the athletes. You can go through it. Okay, nothing very exceptional. Okay, training methods for size. Okay, we tried, as I was saying, one of the athletes had shoulder difficulties, so this is the general plan, and we adapted it for her difficulty in particular. Next slide, please. Okay, again, a general plan for a week with like a timetable rather. Okay, you can go through it. It's quite straightforward. As I said, we had planned yoga, but unfortunately we couldn't go get a resource person. Yes, so this is the general plan which I've prepared for the resumption of training. Okay, we have started with 3 sessions. Well, we started on Wednesday. The plan will be in force in its proper form as from next week. So 3 sessions per week. The volume will be not more than. We are focusing on core work and strength work for the first week. Then it goes on like this up to the 4th week. And finally, we even have an online training, online competition we have scheduled for the 25th and 26th of July. As you know, the 24th of July was going to be the date of the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Olympic Games. So as very symbolically, we have selected those dates for the online competition. As I don't know if you remember at the beginning, I said I'm a member of the coaching and research committee of the Weightlifting Federation of Africa. So this proposal came from me to start with the first online African weightlifting championships with the dates I mentioned earlier. So we are waiting for an approval of the Weightlifting Federation of Africa, and this will be like how to say a new competition system. Okay, it will be unique in Africa, a first online training, online African weightlifting championships. So we will wait. So if this is approved, it will be held on the 24th to 26th of July. Next slide, Ankan. Yeah, well, yeah, here you go. Okay, so the first African online weightlifting championships. So you can quickly go through the recommendations, the suggestions on how this event should be held. So we are waiting, and we will see if this gets approved. Next slide. Well, here we go, guys. I hope I try to be as simple as possible and as straightforward as possible. I tend to very oftenly, go into details and change topic. I'm sorry for that. So if you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat. You can also find me on Facebook. Okay, if any of you is doing will be doing specialization in weightlifting or wants information about weight training, you can always contact me directly and personally. I'll be more than glad to help you guys. Well, sorry, Ankan, to have
No, it's okay, sir. We are benefited with your lecture, sir. So we are having few questions and queries, sir.
Sure.
Okay, these are asked by Satyam Chaudhary, Anna Jamatia, Priyojit Debnath, Rubal Rahul, and Suman Ghosh. But it is very difficult to answer all these, but we can answer few of them because which is more related to your presentation.
Okay.
So the first question is, in resuming the training, is periodization can be maintained in this COVID-19 pandemic? Can it is with
Yeah, interesting question. Actually, a good question. If you can just show again the slide, I think it was the. Can you go back sharing the slide, Ankan?
okay, wait, sir.
Okay. By the time you start with the slide, well, as I mentioned in that slide, actually, we are not resuming putting into place the periodization phase. This is not on the cards for the moment. The idea is to start getting the athletes. No, go back, not back, but it was the third last, I think. The idea at this stage is to get the athletes back into training. The first 2 weeks will be devoted to getting to collecting data from athletes, because at the first stage, in the first instance, I need to know how much the athletes have lost. Let's say how much in terms of leg strength. Actually, not this slide, Ankan. Go forward,
Forward.
not backward. So you're going back, actually, Ankan. I mean forward.
I was earlier, I was right. Means
Yeah.
this one,
No.
before that.
After
This
that.
one.
After. Go. It was a grid. Keep going. Forward. Next one. Next. Yes, there you go. So, yeah, go back now. The first 2 weeks will be devoted to collecting data. So I need, as a coach, go back, please, to exactly, in terms of numbers, know how much each and every athlete has lost. Okay? Each athlete, they are individually different. Okay? In terms of weightlifting, you will have one athlete who, for example, has good leg strength. The other one will have good shoulder strength or better back strength. So after having collected all those data in some kind of, how to say, I will put that in front of me. Then at the basis of those data collected, now a new training process will be elaborated. But you have to take into consideration that the periodization system has to be put in place on the basis of an event. During those times of uncertainty, right now we don't know when the competitions will resume. We don't know exactly when if ever this year we'll be having any event. We know that the African Championships have been postponed for next year, most probably in April. So we will have to collect all those data. First of all, the performance, the form of the athletes, then also in parallel to this, put, I would say, the calendar of activities of the national federation and the international federation. On the basis of that, in light of those data, then I will be able, to put a preparatory cycle towards this periodization concept.
Okay.
Yes.
So I think we got the answer. Hello.
Yeah, I hope it's quite clear.
Yes, sir. I hope you got the answer, Jamatia, Anna Jamatia. Now, one more question is there, sir. As physical activities are very important to us, so is there any kind of strength training what we can perform inside our home without any equipment during this long? Especially, we are talking about lockdown condition. So, is there
Well,
any exercise?
there are many exercises which you can perform, but when speaking about strength training in relation to weightlifting,
Mhm.
as I said earlier, weightlifting, the training concept, the basis of weightlifting training is to go for maximal training. If the question is related to for basic strength, endurance
Yes, yes,
or
yes.
strength levels, yes, you can do that. You can use, for example, you can go for push-ups, okay? You can go
Body weight
for
exercise.
body weight exercises, freehand exercises if you're having like dumbbells at home. But the
Mhm.
difficulty is your body weight will be the same.
Mhm.
If I weigh 90 kg and I'm doing push-ups with my after some time, my body will go into an adaptation process.
Mhm.
And doing push-ups with my own body weight will not cause any further stimulus and
Mhm.
muscle development. That is the difficulties with body weight exercises.
Mhm.
Well, what I can do is increase the number of repetitions.
Repetition.
In some cases, I can, like, for example, I've seen people putting their child on their back and going for
Mhm.
push-ups. But the downfall, or not the downfall, but um, the how to say, the limitations are that your body weight won't be
Mhm.
increasing unless you eat voraciously, and your body weight will go up. But uh, the not I can't find the proper word for it. But in what I want to say is doing that same exercise over and again at home is not very exciting.
Mhm.
To be engaged to create any kind of improvement, I believe motivation and enjoyment in what you're doing is important. You have to
Mhm.
agree that doing push-ups every day, 25, 50 push-ups, only push-ups, 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 or squats, is not very exciting.
Yes, yes, true. So, sir, I think Priyojit, you got your answer, and now some questions are there, but it is related with recovery training. So, how to
Mhm.
recover from back pain and knee pain and muscle ruptures during the lockdown in your home? Is there?
Well, the question, I would say, is not very clear. But
Yes, yes.
what I understand is, I took the example of one of my athletes who had a shoulder problem, an injury at the
Mm,
level of his shoulders.
mm,
Well, listen, injury management is not my domain.
mm.
I'm a coach.
Yes, 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 yes.
What I do is work closely with physiotherapist, kine. We also have an
Mm,
acupuncturist, if I'm not wrong,
mm,
uh, the way it is called. I mean, the guy who does acupuncture.
mm.
So we work in
Even the
close
physiotherapist.
collaboration.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
So when an athlete is injured, okay, I will direct this athlete to the physio, to the doctor, or whoever it is. Obviously, the athlete has to go first through a doctor, and the doctor will direct him to a physio. Then the physio, after treatment, etc., will come to me and will say, okay, this guy is having such and such problem. He has to avoid doing such and such kind of activity, doing of activities to help him in his recovery. So this is how we work here. So by me, or I don't take on me an athlete if he comes to me saying I'm having knee pain, what I need to do.
mm.
I would say, listen, I'm not
Yes.
a doctor. You please go and meet the doctor. And we know how this cycle goes. And at the end, the physiotherapist will contact me and saying, okay, this guy has to avoid doing squats for such and such period, okay, and has to, for example, focus on this muscle group.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is the way it goes on here. I won't be in a general manner if somebody is facing back pain or knee
Back pain
pain
or
during
knee pain.
lockdown.
Yes, yes.
The back pain, myself, I've been facing back pain during lockdown.
Hmm.
Okay, and when I realized why I was getting back pain, was because I've been sleeping too much.
Hmm.
Okay, then what I did is, I'm taking the example, my example. I had, I don't know if you guys do. You take your mattress and you turn it upside down. This is
Hmm.
something you have to do regularly. Okay, after each month, what you do, just turn your mattress upside down. One of the reason could be, it could be due to a sedentary lifestyle, sitting too much, lying on the sofa too much, watching TV, not doing exercises. So these actually are the reasons why some people, including myself, have been getting back pain during this lockdown period. So first of all, I would suggest try to find, okay, and exercises are there to help you improve your condition, your physical abilities, and pains which you might be getting due to a sedentary lifestyle.
Hmm. So thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for clarifying their doubt, which is beyond your domain, but still you have replied. Thank you very much, sir. And
My
we
pleasure.
are. Thank you, sir. Yeah, you have taken extraordinary, sir, class, and we have benefited with your means expertise, knowledge, especially related to weight training and weightlifting. So I hope we will meet again, and we require your guidance, as I'm also training my giving coaching to my lifters. So for
Excellent.
that, as usual,
Excellent.
I need your help and suggestions too, sir. And
You
thanks
can,
for accepting our sir request, uh, way away from home, means from Mauritius. So means it's a special thanks to you from on behalf of entire organizing committee, sir. So thank you once again, sir.
thanks to you, Ankan. Thanks to your university. Please convey my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to your university administration, and thanks to all those participants who have been here listening to me. I don't know how clearly I've explained, but if there's anything not very clear, please, it's not very, I'm not used to giving lectures. I try to do my maximum because in coaching we rarely give lectures, as you know. So I try to do my maximum, but again, if there's anything unclear, please do not hesitate to contact me. And you, Ankan, do not hesitate to contact me in the process of the coaching of your athletes. I'll be more gladly
Thank you, sir.
be here available to help.
Thank you, sir, for your kind means gesture, and we will meet again. I assure you in some other platform. So thank you once again, sir.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you, sir.
Bye bye.
After listening such a wonderful and rich of knowledgeable person, Mr. Ravi Bhola, now it is the turn to call upon the person who can win the world through his psychology. He is the silent worker in our profession. He is none other than Mr. Thefo Kolepunyu. He is working as an assistant professor in the Department of Physical Education in LNIPE, Guwahati, NERC, and he is also visited Buckingham University, UK, as a research scholar. So, welcome you, sir, and I expect and I hope this session will bring smile to our face. So, welcome, sir. So, you can carry on, sir.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon to everyone.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm audible, no? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So after almost 2.5 hours of lecture, to listen a lecture on psychology now, I think I don't know whether I could bring that much interest to every one of you, but nevertheless, I'll just try to keep it short and try to make you interesting as well. Taking this opportunity, I sincerely acknowledge my good friend Dr. Arvind Kamsinha, the organizing secretary and the principal of the Department of Physical Education, Government Degree College, Dharmanagar, North Tripura, Dr. Dilip Sarkar. And these two dynamic person has been associated with another dynamic young youth, Mr. Prasanjit Debnath. Thank you for giving me this opportunity not to teach, but to learn within me or myself. It gives me an immense pleasure to allow me to learn more rather than teaching. Now, the topic that I will be focusing today will be fostering mental skills training to combat COVID-19 pandemic. Now, before starting with the topic, I just reason out many questions as to why mental skill training is really very important. But I'm also doubtful whether any one of us endure or practice mental skill training in our life. Now, to start with the session, I would wish to ask every participant on the line, asking that most of you or most of us knows how to ride a bicycle or knows how to ride a car or bike. But most of all, most of us does not know how to manage our own self. My interpretation of saying this statement is that our mental mechanism is so complex that we have never given any significant importance to our daily lives. And a condition like pandemic situation like today, it is more alarming to everyone. So questioning every participants whether you have ever tried to manage your either emotional or mental process, which can be ultimately tackled through your mental skill training. But I hope so most of us does not practice. Anyway, nonetheless, India is a nation with lots of emotions. So a pandemic-like situations is likely to affect more adversely, especially we as Indians, because our emotional attachment, either with your family members, with your society, is immense, which is not possible practically today. So it is really important to manage your emotions at this very juncture. Now, like I wish to give you one example. Like I have been told that in Buddhist religion, children are taught to breathe in the initial phase. Whereas in our education system today, whenever students get admitted into a school, we will be teaching A, B, C, 1, 2, 3 and all. But in Buddhist religion, what I come to know is the fact that Buddhist people teach their children to breathe first. So most of the speakers, even yesterday or even today, have talked about the psychological impact, the psychological significance, the mental health about this kind of situations. And breathing can be of a significant technique to tackle a situation like where our emotion is erratic. So therefore, breathing is one of the most important technique where we can practice everywhere, in your bed and everywhere you go. So this is really important for us to master your skills of breathing. So first and foremost, we should have to master your own self. Your mind should not master you. This is the message that I would like to convey. Second part of the PPT that I'll be presenting is the content. The content, what are the areas that I'll be focusing? First, it is, let us understand mental health, the first topic. Second, let us understand mental health beyond psychological perspective. This is the second thing that I would like to focus. The third one is general awareness on COVID-19. And the fourth one is 4 pillars of emotional health. The fifth one is definitions of mental techniques, mental abilities, mental skills, and most importantly, mental skill training. Next, we will be covering about mental health and COVID-19. And next is how to handle your emotions, handling of emotions at this hour. Next point that we will be focusing is about why mental skill training. What is the importance of mental skill training? Is one thing that I would like to focus on. The second one is the facts of MST, which is mental skill training. Next is mental skill training techniques, which will be the area of concern for us today. Next one is tips to keep mental fitness during COVID-19, followed by physical activities during COVID-19, and what are the things that we should not do in this pandemic. And lastly, I'll give just a few references. These are the content that I'll be covering today. So I'll go with the first one. Now let us try to understand what is mental health. Many of the speakers have spoken about mental health. But let us focus on what mental health exactly is. To have the best kind of mental health, there is a word called self-regulations. Your emotion is controlled by no one else but yourself. There is no external forces that is controlling you. It is you who controls your emotions. And this is why self-regulation is one of the most important aspects of every individual's. For mental health, we should have to cover 3 important areas. One is, and I wish to say what is self-regulations. Self-regulation is nothing but the ability to manage, control your emotions, thought and behavior in the best possible way. This is what we call it self-regulations. Now, what is mental technique? To self-regulate, there are 3 important components that we need to understand. The first one is mental techniques. Now, mental techniques are the means for mental health. One example, we can say like a goal setting. It can be, we call it visualization. But goal setting is really one very important aspect as to where we should have to cover. The second one is mental skills. Mental skill is nothing but the capacity to regulate yourself. The mental capacity to regulate yourself. And the third important component is mental qualities, which is your positive character, your positive attitudes. One example we can relate it as confidence. Followed with the next presentations, let us try to understand our mental health beyond psychological perspective. Now, there is nothing so-called psychology without understanding neuroscience and your physiological responses. So both neuroscience, physiological responses, psychologies are 2 sides of the same coin. We should have to understand it. And the first one is, do you ever realize that 20% of your calorie is burned by one small organ, which is called brain? Brain is such an important organ that even at the time of your sleep, your brain continues to work to regulate your breath and even to monitor your temperature. If you are feeling cold, it will give response to your body that you need some clothes to cover on. So the significance of brain is really important, and that matter most for mental health. The second important thing is hormones. Hormones are the potential behavioral manifestations. Why I am saying this? Because hormones can influence your behavior, first and foremost. Second thing is, and even your behavior sometimes influence hormone concentration. And this study, we call it as behavioral endocrinology. Behavioral endocrinology. So this is the complexity of our psychological setups. Therefore, both your hormones, secretions of your hormones, are really very important to understand whether it's of a child psychology or whether it is of an adolescent or whether it is of an adult. So this hormonal secretion has to be really taken into considerations to understand your mental health. The third area that I'm going to cover is most emotions, especially stress, depression, anxiety, are not even identifiable. Every individual of us come across some kind of emotions which it can either deteriorates your body functionings or it enhances your body functionings, but we never realize it because there is lots of molecular changes that happens into your body, and we hardly realize it. The second important factor for emotions of stress, depression, and anxiety can be a factor of genetic setups. The third one is your environment, how you have brought up. So these are three very significant factors where our emotion is driven. So proceeding to next, these are some of the components that we need to focus on to understand better health of mental aspect. Now, coming to issues or coming back to COVID-19, every one of us should have to question ourselves with many FAQs, which we call it frequently asked questions. So what are the FAQs that you should have to relate? First and foremost, the FAQs that every one of us should have to deal with it is the FAQs that you can get from WHO website. Why? Because that information is reliable. Half information is really dangerous, and therefore you should have to validate from where the information has been taken. Now I have given about the WHO. WHO has said more than 50s and hundreds of questions, frequently asked questions, along with the answers how the general public should have to respond in this COVID-19. Second thing is, every state has got their own state protocols, national protocols or state protocols. In which states, what are the do's and what are don'ts? So kindly put into consider that you should have to refer your own state protocols to assess and to get information from reliable sources. Now, second issue is very important quote that I wish to convey to every one of you. Did coronavirus come to kill or to find its habitat? Now, I can assure you that the coronavirus didn't come to kill any human being. The virus is just a living organisms where he is trying to find a place to settle. Where is the best possible place? Where is the most suitable place for the virus to live? Corona is seeking for the habitat, not to kill us. And therefore, we should not panic, first and foremost. Now, some of the resource persons have told about the immunity. So if your immunity is strong, it means the virus, the coronavirus, will not find its habitat. So its habitat is important, and therefore, we as individuals should not allow the virus to get into us. So there are lots of means to prevent from us from the virus that we can get from the policies from different governments or even from WHO. The third important that I would like to focus again is there any treatment protocol? Since coronavirus is a very new virus and a happening virus, there is no exact treatment protocol which we every one of us should have to understand. Because the treatments are done based on their response, symptoms. What are the symptoms of the affected individuals? So there is no such specific protocols, but treatment are being done on symptoms. And therefore, we should also have to understand the fact about the treatment protocols. Now, proceeding to my next PPTs, let us try to understand the 4 pillars of mental health. These 4 are the most significant role to play for your mental health. First, it is your emotions. Emotions are nothing but the manifestation of your thought process. So are you accepting yourself as the best, that you are unique? This kind of approach is really important. Are you proud of yourself, self-esteem for whatever you are? Are you resilient? Are you resilient enough to tackle any kind of issue that comes across you? So this self-acceptance, self-esteem, resilience, and the ability to manage strong emotions are really, really significant for a healthy mental health. Second aspect is friends, family, peers, and so on, where we call it as social. Now, with this lockdown, we are unable to interact person to person, from your families, friends, members, or your peer groups. So this is really impacting our social life. And we as a human being are a social animal. We find difficulty staying alone. So you should have to look upon your social health, which we can practice during this COVID is that at least we can put our emotion socially, either through some Facebook, some WhatsApp. This is how we can socialize to maintain our emotional health. So all this aspect interrelates. The third pillar of mental health is financial. Now, it is not about the certain amount of money at your disposal. Financial it's about feelings in control of your finances. Now, every individual earning is different, but that managing skill, how do you manage with a limited amount of money that you earn is really important. The fourth one is, I think most speakers have already spoken, which is on physical health. Now, mental health is not possible without physical workout. Therefore, mental and physical fitness and health are intertwined. You cannot improve through a healthy diet. You cannot improve without a healthy diet, regular exercises, and enough sleep. Now, with the advancement of technology, now using social medias, most of us ignore our sleep. But sleep is one of the most important factors to regulate our mental health as well as physical health. Because at the time of our sleep, it rejuvenates our thousands and millions of cells. So sleep is the best means of rejuvenating our cells. So focus onto your sleeps as well. Proceeding with my next slide, I would wish to discuss very shortly about the mental technique. Now, what is mental technique? Mental technique is nothing but the method used in the diagnosis and treatment of behavioral, personality, and mental disorder. Now, especially a subject like psychology, questioning, interviewing is the most common methods to analyze, to diagnose the behavioral problems. And therefore, mental technique are something which we train so that an individual get a balanced mental health life. Now, the second definition that I would like to focus is mental fitness. What is mental fitness? Mental fitness is the personal framework for understanding what we can do as individuals to build a happier and more productive life. Since these are just the definitions, I would just hurry up with the definitions. Now, the third definitions that I would like to focus is the mental skills. Mental skills, or we call it as psychological skills, are the tools for the mind, and this includes skills like positive self-talk, enhancing confidence, goal setting, and achieving the most productive mindset, among many other skills. Fourth definition that I would like to focus on is mental skill training. And this is the area of our discussion today. That is, involves systematic development and application of mental technique and skills to enhance mental qualities that promote performance and well-being. Since this is the area to discuss, I'll just hurry up forward to the main topics. Now, next that I'll be discussing is about the mental health and COVID-19. What are some of the common response to COVID-19 pandemic? Now, once WHO declares the coronavirus or COVID-19 as a pandemic, what is the ultimate response we as individuals? The first and foremost are fear, worry, anxiety, stress, panic, and erratic behavior. These are the most common emotional response or individual response to this disease, because it is very highly communicable. And at the initial phase of the pandemic, we as a nation also is not prepared, and therefore it is obvious that every individual of us is likely to panic or being anxious about it. So these are some of the responses. Significant change to our daily life as our movements are restricted. Now, many of us have talked about exercises, but how? Because we are confined to your own rooms. Now, in rural areas, I've been informed or told that they continue to do some of their activities because the area is sufficient for them. But as people from cities, they are confined to their room itself. They couldn't even walk into parks or public places. So this is the kind of status that we have gone through. Now we have faced with new realities of working from home. But how? How long? Because there is no clear direction as to when this is going to end. So this is something where everyone is concerned about. Now, with lots of problems, WHO together with partnering with some national bodies or the government, it is providing and advising us to do some guidelines, especially some exercises that I will later on focus. Now, proceeding to next, I will just brief out how we should have to handle our emotions. Now, the first point that I would wish to say is, at times of anxiety, practice breathing. Now, in the very introduction that I have said about the Buddhists teaching their kids about their breathing techniques. Now, most of us just breathe. We hardly realize the significance of the techniques. So now with the emerging of yogic practices in India and international, now the teaching of yoga has gone immensely high. And therefore, breathing technique is now popular. But it was not as popular as it was 4 or 5 years ago. So breathing technique, especially in psychology, there are two very basic types of breathing. We call it as thoracic breathing, and the second one we call it abdominal breathing. Thoracic breathing, actually we breathe short breaths, and in abdominal breathing we used to have a long breathing. Now, why is breathing important? Is because it is through breathing that maximum of oxygen can be supplied to your cells, and at time of anxiety, more amount of calorie is burned in your body systems, and to subside those, breathing is really essential. And therefore, practice breathing techniques, either be it of psychological techniques that I have said, or be it of yogic practices that people from yoga do. Second thing is, try and distance the thoughts that are making you anxious. Now, just to say this as a statement, it is simple, but to practice it is difficult. But how do we have to distance your thoughts from one activity to other? We can just do something different, innovative, which you have never done before, especially like pandemic. Now, most of you may even not be aware of cooking, but cooking also can be one example where you can divert your attentions. So this is how distance your thoughts, because one thought that is distracting your mind will, so distancing your thought is really very essential. The third one is, when feeling angry and irritated, calm your mind, counting back from 10 to 1, distracting yourself. This is another technique to distract your mind. Just normally count 10 to 1 with a controlled mind. This is another technique that you can do. Always stay connected with others, that we have talked about, that we can use of social media. Many people talked about the evils of social media, but social media can also be one of the very best platform where you can stay connected to your people, your close one. or even to some your idols, be it a sportsman, be it a guru, be it or anyone else. So social media is one of the best means to stay connected. So it is you to limit yourself when to use it, how to use it, what to use it. This is important. Continuing with handling of emotions. Now, whenever anything come across like this, even when feeling afraid, deal it with by asking yourself, what is under my control? At the end of the day, it is you, as I have said, it is you that you should have to monitor your own self. Now, most of us, and especially we Indians, we are too much worried कि लोग क्या कहेंगे, लोग मेरे बारे में क्या सोचते हैं. We focus too much on how people perceive or think about us. But what best you can do is about what are some things that you are into control. Continue to do something which you are best control with. So this is the means to stay away from your evil emotions or negative emotions. Ask another question by, am I unnecessarily worrying about the worst thing that can happen? Now, just by thinking and realizing the sad part, be it of your past or be it anticipation of your future. So keep thinking, worrying of anything that has happened to you or that may happen to you. So these are the areas that you need to focus on. Don't unnecessarily worry or think which is beyond your control. Third question that you should have to ask to yourself is, when I have been stressed in the past, how have I managed? This is really important. Your past experiences. Your experiences is the best kind of education that will give you. So focus on to your past emotions that you have managed. Fourth, what are the things I can do to help myself and be positive? Now, this important area is positive thinking. Now, being positive, again, to say it as a statement is simple. But how do we stay positive is another difficult area that every one of us should start realizing, understanding. Now, coming back to the main parts of our presentation today is about why mental skill training at this hour, especially in this COVID-19. Why mental training? Now, to understand this, we should have to consider your brain as equally as your muscles. Now, mental health is just as important as physical health. Now, most of us go to gym for 2 to 3 hours every day on daily basis to strengthen our muscles. But we forget to realize to strengthen our brain cells. Therefore, it is equally important for your mental training with your physical health. So these two should have to go simultaneously. Second one. Now, mental skill training contributes 4 important factors. One is mental. Again, the second is emotional. Third is social, and the fourth is meta-mental. Now, in this 4 area of mental skill training, I wish to focus on meta-mental. Now, most of us do our daily activities, but most of us don't realize before you go to sleep, you hardly realize how your day has gone. What are the good things that you have done? What are the bad things that you have done? And especially for a sportsman. Now, before going to bed, that is the best time to reflect yourself. What are the mistakes that you have done? What are the skills that you need to work upon? So this kind of training is really essential for a sportsman. Not only for sportsmen, but for any other activities that you do, be it of software engineers or working in the multinational companies. You should always have to reflect, what are the mistakes? What are the good things that you have worked? What are the qualities that you can ponder upon, you can work upon? These are the area of concern that you should have to practice daily. Now, there are some facts about mental skill training. Some of the most common reasons why mental skill training is neglected, one reason is lack of knowledge about what mental skill training is. Now, as I have said, most of us hardly practices mental skill training. The second fact about is misunderstanding about how to teach mental skills. Again, this is very important aspect. The third one is we consider to say lack of time. But to practice mental skills, you don't have lots of time to sacrifice. You can practice mental skill training in the early very morning, one, or as I've said before, you can even practice before you go to bed. So we consider it as lack of time, but there is nothing as such that we lack in time. Some of the common myth about mental skill training is it is only necessary when there is a problem. We consider that mental skill training is only necessary when there is problem. But one fact about this is that after coming across problems, we are too late. And that is the reason why people go to depressions. Depression, unable to handle stress. So mental skill is important, but these are the myths people used to think. The second one is, it is only for elite athletes. This quote I am taken from sports psychology, and that is why it is written as elite athletes. So mental skill training is nothing exclusively for elite professional athletes. It is required for every one of us, every individual of us, to tackle our daily problems. And the third myth, common third myth is a one-off session to improve a particular component is all you need. Now, people consider that one small session a day will solve problems. But practically, it is not like that. Mental skill training needs to continue like you continue for your physical training in gyms. At least on daily basis of 15 to 30 minutes, you should have to practice mental skill training either in the evening or in the morning. So this myth has to be gone from every one of us to master over your mental skill training. Now, mental skill training has three basic phases. The first one is education phase. The second one is acquisition phase. And the third one is practice phase. Now, let me consider these three phases into a condition like this lockdown in our country or elsewhere in the other countries. Now, I can relate education phase as the first lockdown that our country, our Prime Minister has declared. Now, this is the period where we can educate ourselves about the coronavirus, how the impact of corona can affect our country as a nation, how this is going to affect your personal life or your professional life. This is the phase that we should have to educate ourselves. And I'm doubtful whether every one of us as citizens have gone through all the FAQs that I have told. So at this hour, are we educated enough Do we really know about the viruses? Do you really know the danger that this virus can harm every one of us? This is the phase that we should have to all understand and cooperate with either the health workers or the government agencies that is trying to bring down the virus to the best of their potentials. So both education phase and acquisition phase is what we are living now. So this understanding the virus and the impact is what we should have to thoroughly understand, and we should have to respond. And to respond this, I would relate it with practice phase. How do we respond to the viruses? And this is really important. Now, if we are unable to practice what the government direction is giving us, or the expert teams, or the medical team is telling us, so it will be a failure, we as a nation. So few days back, I was reading an interview of Indira Gandhi, the former Prime Minister of India. She once said that India is a country with lots of indiscipline. So to control a situation like this, we need a complete discipline, the directions that the experts are giving. So let us put into practice the directions that is given by the WHO or the government agencies. So these are the three important phases of the mental skill training. Now coming to the most important area of our discussion is mental skill training. And what are the techniques? It is through techniques that is best possible to manage your mental health or mental fitness. The first one is, let us talk about goal setting. So most of us have heard about set your goal smart, be specific, it should be measurable, it should also be achievable, and at the same time realistic and timely. This is what every one of us have come across. But what is important about goal setting? Goal setting is nothing but just giving you a direction. Doing things rightly or doing the right things are the things that you should have to question to yourself. And the best answer to this is doing things rightly is always important than doing the right things. So doing things rightly is always important, and therefore we should have to practice on it. Goal setting is nothing but giving you a directions. Now, a research survey says that in metropolitan cities, and this survey is done by Yale University, and that university says that in most of the metropolitan cities, only 2% of the populations set 2% of their population set their goals clearly and thoroughly. It means 98% of us are not setting our goals. We are just trying to do our work without any direction. So without having any clear-cut direction, it is always difficult to achieve our desired goal. And therefore, setting goal is really important. The second important mental skill training technique is your mental imagery. Your mental imagery, especially in sports, mental imagery, we divide this into four basic things. The first one is visual. The second one is kinesthetic. And the third one is auditory. And the fourth one is olfactory. So mental imagery and visualizations are two important mental skill training or techniques, which is synonymous, but it is little differences. Mental imagery are something that you create an image into your mind by using your sensory organs, whereas visualization is creating putting an image within your own mind. So these two are very important techniques as to how you should have to frame your work. Now, mental imagery and visualization. I'll speak together. Now, you should have to framework the activity or works that you'll put on tomorrow or with your past experiences. You should have to have a clear-cut message into your mind. Since time is moving out, I'll just speed up my talks. The third one is self-talk. Now, I once remember what APJ Abdul Kalam has said. Now, he said that you should have to talk every day to yourself. If you fail to talk to yourself on daily basis, he said that you are missing one of the most important human being. So what is self-talk? Self-talk is something that you should keep talking to yourself. Now, the third image in the PPT that I have shown is, we can talk to yourself like you can and you cannot. So these two words, simple words, there are some people who always focus on that I can or you can, and it is possible through me. But there are many people कि मेरे से नहीं होगा, and बार-बार अगर मेरे से नहीं होगा, if an individual continues to speak like this, वो अपना subconsciousness में वो बता देता है कि he is not possible. So this self-talk, to be positive, is really very important. So speak to yourself daily that you are the best to do to handle yourself. Always talk to yourself. And the fifth one is relaxation techniques. Now, relaxation techniques, there are different kind of techniques. Breathing techniques that we have talked about in the previous slides. So I'll not focus much on this. The second one is progressive muscle relaxations. We call it PMR. Now, what is PMR? What are the things that you should have to do? PMR is nothing but when an individual comes under a condition either by stress, anxiety, or depression. I won't call it as a depression. I'll call it as anxiety or stress. Now, your body systems squeezed up, and therefore the efficiency of your muscles, legs. So progressive muscle relaxations is a technique where you yourself told your muscles to squeeze it and just relax it, and this can be continued. You can give command to yourself to stretch your forehead muscles and relax. Arm muscles, tell yourself to squeeze yourself and relax. Abdominal muscles can be like that, or even your lower limbs. Intentionally, you squeezing up your muscles and relaxing. And this is the techniques that generally progressive muscle relaxation do. And this is important because unless your muscles is fully relaxed, your efficiency can't be achieved. The third technique, and this is important and where every one of us today say, is about meditations. Now, again, I'll be referring to one of the Buddhist teaching about meditations. He told about what meditation is. He said that meditation is nothing but absolutely positive thinking, and focus on your thinking is what meditation is. So meditation, I won't go in details, but because there will be some yoga experts tomorrow, where they will focus on meditations. So meditation is giving your time to yourself with a positive thinking in a focused condition. This is what meditation is all about. And the fourth one is guided imagery. Guided imagery is nothing but someone master, an expert, is trying to monitor your emotions, and this is called guided imagery. So in case of any conditions where you are unable to manage yourself, you should have to consult to your either psychiatrist, so that a professional feedbacks can be done. So these are some of the major techniques of mental skill training that we have discussed today. Now, I'll be hurry up because our time is running. These are some of the tips for mental fitness, like keep informed. Now, update the informations. What are the daily happenings that is happening in the world? Now, WHO is saying that there is about 128 research papers every day, daily on COVID-19. So since this is a new virus and people are trying to understand, you just keep updated with the information to your near ones, dear ones, or either in a family or anyone who stays away from you. Just keep informed. Second one is have a routine. Now, structure your program for your 24 hours day, and that you can do on your daily basis. Have a routine. Minimize newsfeed. Now, why is minimize newsfeed? It is because there are thousands and lakhs of informations that pop up in either Facebook or Twitter, in any kind of social media. But unless you validate the informations, don't believe it. Minimize those news feeds. Next one is stay connected with family and friends that everyone is familiar with. Keep yourself engaged. Now, don't sit idle is my message. At home, especially in metropolitan cities, you can either clean your own home, clean your house, washing off your clothes, cooking, as I have said before, or even washing off utensils can be of great means. So keep yourself engaged. Next is prioritize nutrition. Now, prioritize nutrition, what I mean to say is, it is not the amount of quantity of food that you should take, but it is the quality. Prioritize nutrition on your quality nutrition is what I'm focusing about. Next is check your thoughts. Always check your thoughts. What I'm thinking, what I'm doing. Any thought that distracts you should always be monitored by yourselves. And next one is be resilient. Be resilient, which is react but relax. Renew and refocus on your activities. And some mental fitness tip continues. Reduce stress, structure your days, take regular breaks, and adapt your daily life to the current situations. Next is banish feelings of powerlessness. Now, don't think yourself that you are powerless. Don't think that you are useless, hopeless. Plan your day as precisely as possible. Next is stay productive. Keep your private and professional life separately. This is really very important because many of us fail to separate your professional and personal life. And that is the reason why most of the married people happen to have some problems at home. Next is look after your mental and physical health with daily physical and relaxation exercises. Next is spend some time on creative activities, keep regular meal time, and opt for a light, balanced, and varied diet. Now, keep regular meal time, which is very important. Your breakfast time, lunch time, and dinner time is really very important. And most of us are not having a regular meal time, and that is the problem during this pandemic. Now, limit intake of alcohol and drug use that everyone is familiar with. Limit screen time, video games, and social media that yesterday one of my resource person has already spoken enough. And help others. Now, help others. Now, help your neighbors, doing good thing to others, give a tremendous response in your mental process, and that you should have to continue to do so. Now, these are some of the guidelines that the WHO has given, and Dr. Maheshin Dapola has already highlighted something. These are some of the activities based on age. Now, WHO has said that infants under the age of 1 year need to be physically active several times a day. This is what WHO guidelines is giving. Children under 5 years, 180 minutes a day in physical activities. Children at the adolescent age, 5 to 17 years, 60 minutes a day of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity. Now, how can we do this? I'll relate some examples. Now, what I'm happy about many people is that even during this pandemic, many people are coming up with their own YouTube channels, structuring the exercise design. And this is where every one of us can do. And this is how we can promote ourselves. And the best modules of your exercise can be taken by everyone who views. So even if WHO has given us these guidelines, it is our liberty to structure what are the activities that we can do. And this is what we should have to focus on. Now, adult age 18 to 64 years, WHO recommends 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity throughout the week. And adult age 65 years, older adults with poor mobility should do physical activity to enhance balancing activities and prevent falls on 3 or more days per week. So all age, whose age is beyond 65 and whose physical activity is weak, they should have to continue to do balancing activities to prevent falls. Now, I'll just read out this what not to do, because this is already very much in the public domain. Do not panic. Why panic is so important? Because due to panic, there is lots of hormonal disturbances that gives to your body, and it has a severe impact on our mental health as well as physical health. So just don't be panic. Face the reality. Don't think you are immune. Never consider that coronavirus will not attack you or will not affect you. Never think that way, because it is likely to happen to everyone. Do not stop exercise. Adhere to social distancing. Do not share bogus information. Disinfect your cell phone. Now, this 6 point I feel is really important, because we are bound to have our mobile phone every now and then. So even though we wash our hands or face, we normally does not wash our cell phones. And therefore, disinfecting your cell phone is really important. Do not shun or judge people with a COVID infection. Don't judge the patient of coronavirus, because India has a very good recovery rate, and therefore we should not ignore. They are just normal people like you and me. If you happen to get infected with corona, remember, most people get better. Practice self-isolation and continue to stay positive. So this is all about the informations that I would like to convey to every one of you. And these are some of the helplines that Government of India provides. So I think every one of you is familiar with these helplines. If not, you can take a note on it. My last message to you, my last message to every one of you is: Corona will end, tears will stop, and doors will open for every one of us for our normal life. With this, these are some of the references, and I thank the organizers to give me an opportunity to address people who viewed today. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation today.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for such a intense presentation. I hope all have learned
Thank
something.
you.
And now there are few questions and queries from the participants. So mainly most of the questions are similar
Okay.
in nature. So
Mm.
there is one question that is, if our physical health is weak, then will those weakness will outstrip the mental health? Will those physical weakness will outstrip the mental health?
Now, it is not necessary. There is no such evidence. There is no such evidence that if you are physically weak, you will be weak mentally. There is no such evidence. Now, it is important. What is mental health about? Mental health is all about how you tackle your activities. So there is no relation with mental health or physical. Those who are poor in health will have a poor in mental health. We can never say. Even in India, we have seen lots of reality shows. People with some physical disabilities are likely to have more mental willpower because they have got more focus onto it. So it is not necessary, and there is no such relevance. It is important, and I have been repeated many times, I think, that it is how you take your emotions, how you understand yourself. This is really very important. So a person who is either weak physically should not have to undermine themselves that he is likely to have mental weakness. There is nothing as such like this. So carry on with the positive attitudes. This will be my message to everyone.
Okay, thank you, sir. Very clear concept about the psychology and about this question. And there are few more participants like Chandan Roy, Anand Jamatia, and Priyojit Debnath. They have asked almost a similar question. One of them is how can we overcome and manage stress and depression in the pandemic situation, or what are the different measures we should use for avoiding this condition of our distress and depression.
Now we have talked about the skills, the mental skills technique that we have discussed. But other than those techniques, I would like to tell them that we should have to face the reality. What is the reality? Now, is there any kind of solution through stress? There is absolutely no. If you ask to yourself, out of your stress, is there any solution? No, absolutely not. So ultimately, it is the techniques, the mental skill techniques that we have discussed. Why can't you practice on it? I have told about mental skill training techniques can never be effective with a one-day practice. It is never
Mhm.
possible. It is never possible. You should have to continue for months and months and months, at least for even years. So how do you tackle things? It's really important. Like I have relayed with your physical fitness training. Now to build our muscles, if you stop working, even your muscle tonicity will decrease. अगर आप जिम में जाना बंद कर दोगे, आप उसको प्रैक्टिस अगर करना बंद करोगे, तो even the efficiency of your muscles goes that way. Similarly, mental health भी इस तरह से काम करता है. जैसे कि I have told about breathing exercise, and I think most of us don't schedule ourselves how to control our breath. One. The second thing is, do we really practice PMR that we have talked about, the relaxation techniques? I guess we hardly do.
Mhm.
Do we really imagine how we have waste our day? Analyze your do's. What are the good things that you do? focus on to things which you have done good, and continue to do good things tomorrow, day after tomorrow, and days to come. So this is these are the focus that every one of us should have to ponder upon.
Okay, thank you, sir. I assure you that at least I will follow whatever you have suggested in this lecture, and I will request all of you to just note it down, the silly means very minute trick what he has shown to us, like back counting and reverse counting, what you call. These all are very important in our life. So thank you, sir. You have touched every corner of mental health, I suppose. You have
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, my concern is that mental health is something which does not come in bulk, और हम जो फिजिकली चीजें जो दिखाई नहीं देता है, हम उसको विश्वास करने में थोड़ा सा समय लगता है. Now I'm going to give you an example. If you close your eye, you will see more things. If you open your eye, the physicality will obstruct your vision. अगर आप अपना आंखें बंद करेंगे, you can see more things. Likewise, I am going to give you another example. An owl, एक उल्लू जो है, owl जो है, वो रात में हार्म करता है, because it has that potential. Human body is nothing, but if I happen to compare human as a car, जैसे कि कार 2-3 साल या 5 साल मेंटेनेंस के लिए कुछ करना नहीं पड़ता है, लेकिन एक इंसान after attaining adolescence, it is all about maintenance. So always focus onto things which is important, which is positive, which is important.
Agreed, sir. Very true, and it is very fruitful for every one of us, sir. And we got some calls and personal mails and messages for your presentation, sir. So means that they want to contact you, they want some suggestion more, and I will text you some other questions so that we can have the means some other platform we will suggest them these means solutions. So due to the time constraint, we are not going to extend it, but we will keep in mind your questions and queries, and we will reply you soon.
That will be more than welcome, and I really thank every one of you, the organizers, and most importantly, the viewers, the listeners.
Yes, sir.
Which are part of this program. I sincerely thank them all, and I wish every one of them a very good day.
Thank you, sir, and for accepting our request and delivered such a wonderful means very nice presentation as far as psychology and mental health is concerned. So thank you once again, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So we have come to the end of second day. So we will meet again tomorrow. Before that, before leaving this platform, I would like to instruct you or give you some informations about tomorrow's schedule. We will have 2 lectures tomorrow, but along with that, we are going to celebrate the International Yoga Day. So there will be one lecture on yoga and mental health that will help you in all aspects of your life. So from 10 a.m. onward, we will start the session, and it will be continued till 1 a.m., including the valedictory function. In that duration, you will get each and every information like feedback form during the last presentation. So be with us, stay tuned with us, and attend it sincerely. Again, I want to repeat it again, that according to this presentation, as per this presentation, you will have some questions in your feedback form, so that we can evaluate it, and we are very keen to give you the certificate. So we need your attention and your sincere means presence in these sessions. So thank you once again, and goodbye, and we will meet again tomorrow. So thank you all.